The story began in the stillness of night, where a strange sound echoed in the silence. Whether it was the freezing wind in the late night, the moonlight peeking through high clouds, or the sharp senses of a seasoned assassin, they all whispered. At that moment, a knight was kneeling, head bowed before someone. Once again, "Well done." He glanced up, then bowed gratefully, saying, "Thank you, my Lord Darius." The stern man standing before him was Darius Robert. He had long, flowing hair and a cold, mysterious aura that made others wary. The voice inside the knight's head had not stopped. They said he would die at the hands of this man tonight. Darius gently said to the knight kneeling before him, "You have shown me a result worthy of the position of a shadow commander. Thanks to your contribution, our clan has made unprecedented progress." The knight responded humbly, "I only did what I had to do, my lord." The name of this knight was Rayon. Lord Darius looked at him, smiling cryptically. "I'm truly curious, Rayon." His gaze was fixed on the shadow cast on the ground by Raon, and he asked cryptically, "Do you believe that a shadow needs freedom?" But Raon, being clever, quickly understood Darius's intent, replying clearly while maintaining his bowed posture. "The Shadow Squad exists only to carry out the Master's orders. Among us, there is no such thing as thoughts, emotions, or hearts." Darius was pleased, praising him. "Good, so you are aware." Darius looked at Rayon again and whispered, "But if you already know that," the gentle demeanor he had shown until now suddenly vanished. Darius's face darkened. His eyes glowed fiercely. The surrounding atmosphere became gloomier. He began to interrogate Rayon. "Then why did you dare act on your own?" He looked at Rayon with a crazed gaze. "And how were you able to break free from the brainwashing?" Rayon was also horrified. He thought to himself, How could he have known about that? What exactly are we talking about? What's the full story behind this? What is this brainwashing he's talking about?" Suddenly, Rayon remembered. Painful memories resurfaced vividly in his mind. The way the Robert family optimized the Shadow Assassination Squad. Darius's method of achieving this was by kidnapping or purchasing children. And it didn't stop there. He did even more horrifying things, turning them into assassins who would devote their lives to carrying out the Robert family's dirty work. In other words, they raised loyal dogs for the clan. Rayon was one of those unfortunate children who fell into his hands. "I was also brainwashed, but thanks to a chance encounter during one of my missions, I was able to break the chains that imprisoned me." Rayon never expected that Darius would find out. He briefly wondered, but how could he possibly know that I was no longer brainwashed? He asked directly, no longer speculating. "How did you know, my lord?" Darius replied in a calm voice, absent-mindedly rubbing two fingers together. "Among all the assassins, including you, there are two chains tightening around your necks. The first is brainwashing, which, somehow, you have broken free from." He snapped his fingers with a decisive tone. "And the second," suddenly, he launched a direct attack at Rayon, raising his voice. "Is this?" Blood immediately sprayed out. Rayon's eyes widened in shock, unable to react. After a few seconds, he screamed in pain. "Ah! Ah! Ah!" Rayon clutched his chest tightly. This pain, what is it? "It feels like my heart is being sawed, hacked apart." Darius smiled in satisfaction. In contrast to the agonized Rayon, he spoke calmly, ignoring Rayon's writhing. He said, "That is a parasite worm." Darius explained slowly. "An insect implanted in your body. It still obeys my command, and is now slowly eating away at your heart." Rayon was terrified. This cruel act by Darius, the most wicked form of dark sorcery, was something that could even read a slave's emotions. Clenching his teeth, he forced himself to speak. "Brainwashing alone wasn't enough for you. You even made me swallow a parasite worm. After doing such things, you still pretend to be noble and virtuous. You are truly despicable." Darius remained completely calm. He spoke arrogantly. "That is called caution, not pettiness. Don't forget, you were able to escape brainwashing." He declared his philosophy with lofty arrogance. "People say everyone wears a mask. Mine is just a little thicker and more unique than the rest." Rayon could think no more. He only knew that the greatest enemy of his life was this man. He etched the name Darius Robert deeply into his mind. The painful past suddenly surged back. I was kidnapped at an age too young for me to remember anything clearly. Those days are something Rayon can never forget. He recalled being raised like a hound and an assassin for the Robert family. Even after becoming a shadow commander, I lived without a heart or emotions. A turning point began in Rayon's life. But thanks to a fortunate encounter, I was able to learn a technique called Fire Eye, which was said to be a special ability of the strongest swordsman on the continent long ago. It allowed me to break free from brainwashing. Rayon drifted through his memories. I thought I had finally escaped the Shadow Core and began to dream of freedom. At last, I had hope. Hatred burned within him as he screamed in despair. Yet why is it that what awaits me at the end of the road is death, not freedom? Rayon kept lamenting. His weary body collapsed onto the ground. But even then, so many things still bound him. What crime have I committed? Why must I die such a meaningless death? The more Rayon thought, the angrier he became. The hatred in his heart only grew stronger. He clenched his teeth, his hand tightening into a fist, pounding the ground. Damn it! I can't let things end like this. A flicker of willpower helped Rayon push himself up. He resolved that if he must die here. Darius was startled when Rayon suddenly stood up. He stared in disbelief. How can you stand in that condition? Rayon ignored the foolish question. He pressed one hand to the ground, readying himself to strike. His mind endlessly urged him on. If this is to be my end, Rayon gritted his teeth, his eyes glowing fiercely. He told himself, I'll take his hand or at least wound him before I die. In the stillness of night, Rayon let out a soul-shaking roar. He screamed silently, I won't die a miserable death. His body shot toward Darius. Darius remained calm, unmoving. At that moment, Rayon saw only Darius, his sworn enemy. But his injured body was in no state to face a cold-blooded killer like Darius. With a decisive swing of the sword, blood splattered once more. Rayon collapsed again on the icy ground. His eyes widened. A dying gaze. Darius stood over him, watching his labored breathing. But Darius's gaze held something different this time. He was taken aback. Even though I blocked that strike, Darius turned to leave. But his mind remained on Rayon. Despite being trash, he not only escaped brainwashing, he also endured the pain of the parasite and launched an attack. How long has it been, I wonder? He looked at his bleeding hand. How many years has it been since I was last wounded? To be bitten by a hunting dog I myself trained. Unbelievable. Darius glanced back slightly, muttering to himself. But I no longer need to worry, he's dead now. He then ordered his subordinates. Dispose of him. Rayon's eyes stayed fixed on Darius's fading figure. Darius was considered one of the strongest warriors across the continent. Rayon tried to comfort himself. My defeat was inevitable. He's the strong, and I'm the weak. How could I possibly resist? Yet Rayon's eyes still stared unwaveringly ahead. But I refused to accept that. The ghost of the past surged again. I regret living this life without a purpose. One of those ghosts was none other than Darius. He would not let Rayon depart in peace. I regret letting Darius toy with me my entire life. The greatest regret still bound Rayon. He gasped. And I deeply regret never being able to master the fire ring. A prayer began to echo. Be it God or even demon, anyone will do. So please. Rayon was pleading desperately. Do something and give me a chance to take revenge on Darius. The emblem on Rayon's chest suddenly lit up. A strange phenomenon occurred. You have been chosen by Wrath. Wrath will enter your body, the body that has died. After the blood-soaked night and bitter resentment, the sun rose high once more. Warm sunlight filled the space, accompanied by a gentle voice. Sunlight. That soft voice belonged to this beautiful girl. Sunlight. Look at mommy, my sunshine. The baby in the crib raised a tiny hand and babbled. Abba. His mother giggled. Good job. Now what's this one? The baby, unusually smart, immediately responded. Abu. The mother hugged the baby tightly, her face sparkling, and her eyes filled with happiness. Oh my, mommy's precious sunshine. Who do you take after to be this adorable? Huh? But this baby didn't seem like an ordinary infant. He looked at his mother, pondering like an adult. I'm still not used to this. The woman holding him was Sylvia. Sylvia gently lifted her child again. The boy thought to himself, I still can't believe this. She smiled brightly, saying, Say mommy, mommy. The baby looked intently at his mother. Without a doubt, Rayon was now in this form. I've been reincarnated as the child of this woman, Rayon recalled, still retaining the memories of his past life as an assassin. When he opened his eyes, Rayon was utterly confused. At first, I thought it was just a dream. How could I sleep for 100 days and still not wake up? But no matter how long he slept, he finally accepted the truth that he had been reborn. Sylvia held Rayon in her arms, gazing out the window. The weather is so beautiful today. Isn't it, darling? Sylvia stared into the distance. I hope the Lord returns soon. She spoke with hope. Then he can give you a beautiful name. Rayon looked at his mother, his eyes slightly sad. It's a bit strange being called a nickname like Tiny Kick. Isn't it? Rayon mused. Not seeing your child for 100 days. He must be very busy. Huh, thinking so, he babbled. Bio. To please his mother. Abu. The place Raon now lived in was vast, magnificent, and splendid. Just a glance was enough to show its wealth and luxury. Rayon thought to himself, I haven't been able to explore much since reincarnating. But at least I know this is a wealthy, upper-class family. Even the bedroom was lavishly decorated. A stark contrast to the bleak surroundings of Rayon's previous life. I guess being reborn into a powerful and rich family is better than into a mediocre one. But even with the love and abundance he now had, Rayon still carried that burning desire deep inside. He told himself, being reborn into this wealthy life is good, because I need to take revenge. Rayon had never forgotten the ruthless face of Darius. One thing he remembered clearly was the wrath and hatred he had felt in his heart before dying. But I need to be patient. Reborn, but in the body of a child. Rayon couldn't do much yet. Until now. I've only wandered around this room. I don't know where this is. I don't know my status or what situation I'm in. Baby Rayon reflected deeply. Moreover, because I still haven't mastered the flame ring technique, I must endure even more patiently. In my past life, I was once called the greatest assassin of the Robert family. Now, blessed with a second chance at life, Rayon lived for one purpose only: to one day exact vengeance on Darius. Rayon had to give his all. He had to suppress his emotions and desires until the time was right. Baby Rayon looked around again. But this only makes me more curious. The brightness and scale of this mansion. This goes beyond just upper class. Suddenly, Rayon's gaze fixed on something. Sylvia's maid, Helen, rushed in. Lady Sylvia, she shouted from the doorway. The Lord has returned. Sylvia was stunned, stammering. Father is... Rayon was surprised. Father? Huh? Does that mean the Lord is my father? Sylvia panicked. What should we prepare? Helen flailed. It's too late. My lady. He's already at the door, she exclaimed. Oh no. Worry was written all over Sylvia's face. Both she and Helen turned to look toward the entrance. Rayon curiously followed their gaze. Then he stood there, stunned and confused. What the hell? What is this presence? From outside the door, 3 figures silently entered, declaring the Lord's return. The Lord's footsteps were heavy and full of authority, exuding pressure through presence alone. He had golden hair and a tall, muscular build. Rayon stared blankly, mumbling. The more he looked, the more astonished Rayon became. Impossible. If I'm not mistaken, this man is... Sylvia could only tremble in fear, stammering. Father. Without greeting anyone, he bluntly asked, Is this the child? Rayon stared intently at the Lord. I'm certain. He combed through every fragment of memory. A middle-aged man with sunlit hair, eyes blazing red like fire, and a face colder than ice. The head of the greatest family on the continent. The Destruction King of the North. Glenn Sieghart. Glenn looked at Rayon with a stern gaze, dim and unreadable. Rayon looked up at his grandfather with wide eyes. Inside, he rejoiced. I've been reborn into the strongest family on the continent. The question rang out, full of disbelief. You intend to keep him? Rayon thought to himself. What an inconvenient fate. Lord Glenn reached out and picked up the child, saying, From this day forward, the boy's name is Rayon, just as his name suggests. Live quietly and exist silently, like a shadow. As if you're not here. Rayon stared blankly at his grandfather. After passing through life and death, I now have a new name. Having said that, Glenn turned and walked away. Rayon beamed with joy, murmuring the new name. Rayon. Night fell. The space around was silent. Rayon assumed everyone must be asleep by now. He sat up, his tiny body adorable, in stark contrast to his previously somber aura. These 100 days have been utterly boring. But now, I finally have a chance. His body had merged with the infant's, so his habits matched that of a baby. Rayon thought to himself. Sometimes I randomly get sleepy. He remembered, every time he woke up, Sylvia was always beside him. I can't even control mana or anything yet. At least it's a relief I can now sleep alone in the crib. But the remaining rationality helped Rayon sit up again. All right, let's begin. He began training again. The fire ring condensed. A sacred space, and mountains and forests appeared in his mind. In continental cultivation, breathing was used to let natural mana and aura accumulate at the energy center. But the fire ring, attained through special catalysts, was different. Rayon focused intensely, much like a mage crafting a mana circle. It formed a ring around the heart. It enhances endurance and stimulates bodily growth. At the same time, it strengthens willpower and aligns with mana. Thus, this method allows one to reach ideal conditions to become a warrior. Rayon grew increasingly excited. That is the ultimate technique. He had strong faith in his path. Another advantage, even a genius like Darius couldn't tell if a fire ring existed. So Rayon remained steadfast in his training. Most of all, if I train both body and mind using the fire ring. Though his form had changed, Rayon's thoughts remained the same. And I'll make the swordsmanship of Sieghart my own. At this thought, Rayon felt delighted. Then revenge against Dru's robber won't be a pipe dream. He looked again at his tiny, frail body. Maybe it's this body structure that makes my mana channels so cold. That's why my whole body stays cold. Even after sleeping for 20 hours or more, the baby Rayon closed his eyes again, focusing his mind. Mana blockage. Or is it in the 9th channel? This is serious. At this rate, I'll die from frozen mana clogging the magic channels. He muttered to himself. I need to clear the channels using the fire ring. On the other hand, it'd be a shame to discard this bone-deep cold. I'll combine it with the body's internal fire and circulate them together. On the wild grass in the forest, the sound of rustling occasionally echoed. Rayon thought with relief. All right, it's a bit slow, but it's working steadily. Next is, Baby Rayon expressed frustration from the adult inside. Rayon lay down. Just a bit of training and I'm already tired. Damn this tiny, weak body. Rayon cursed. Damn it. I can't. Before long, baby Rayon fell asleep. Lord Glenn silently watched his sleeping grandson in the crib. He gently cast a protective spell over the child. Then, he walked away. Morning came again. Baby Rayon crawled on the ground, face looking like he was protesting something. A boo-boo. Sylvia stood beside him cheering. Foo-foo! Our Aaron is just too adorable. Crawl a bit more. Up-up-oo. Inwardly, Rayon cursed. Playing with this mom is exhausting. The soul is an adult. But I'm being forced to act like a baby. I'm going to die at this rate. Sylvia finally picked up Rayon, lovingly praising him. There's nothing Rayon could do. So cute. So very cute, I'd rather suffer the cold. She kept cooing sweet words to her child. Our adorable little Aaron. At that moment, a clattering sound came from outside. Is Sylvia here? Hearing it, Sylvia cheered joyfully. Ah, old man. No, it's the holy saint. The saint laughed heartily. A kind and benevolent smile, just as his title suggested. What saint just call me old man? Rayon stared in confusion. This guy is the eternal saint. So, the approachable-looking holy saint was actually a figure of great influence. His holy power and sacred art skills were said to be among the continent's finest. He was the most renowned healer on the continent, but his wandering nature made meeting him as hard as reaching the heavens. The holy saint looked at baby Rayon. I was passing through and came to visit because I heard you just had a baby. This little one. Ah, yes. He gently lifted Rayon, smiling kindly. Oh, blonde hair, red eyes, just like you, Sylvia laughed. Yes. Aren't they beautiful? The holy saint offered a few comments. What a cute child. Very different from Glenn. Completely different. So what's the baby's name? The name? Sylvia seemed a bit hesitant introducing him. His name is Rayon. The eternal saint gave a sideways glance. You didn't name him with the meaning shadow or darkness. Did you? Sylvia nodded. That's right. The holy saint looked at Rayon, slightly displeased upon hearing the name, naming a child shadow. What was Glenn thinking? Rayon stared intently at the holy saint. He's nothing like his title. There must be some kind of connection between them. Huh. I heard the Northern Destroyer King and the Eternal Saint were friends. But if that's true, the holy saint smiled gently again and softly said, Rayon, let this old man take a look at you. He placed his hand on the baby's tiny chest. Sylvia watched silently. The holy saint muttered, then spoke. The child's condition is not good. Sylvia asked anxiously, Is something wrong with the baby? This child is afflicted with an inner ice curse. He handed Rayon back to Sylvia and briefly explained the situation. The boy's mana channels are blocked by shards of ice. Forget about whether he can become a swordsman in the future. He said something that crushed Sylvia's spirit. If untreated, the boy will die. At this rate, the child won't live long. Sylvia panicked. You're lying. But the holy saint remained solemn. I'll give you some medicine to help maintain him. My lord, forgive the interruption. Helen bowed and announced, The master has summoned you. I will guide the way. That's all for now. I'll take my leave. The master said to bring you immediately. The holy saint sighed in frustration. Ah, this guy always calls at the worst times. So he left. I understand. I'm going. Rayon watched his departing figure. Now I know it's the ice curse. Well, knowing the name doesn't change much. A drop of water fell on baby Rayon's face. Don't tell me it's because of the flame ring. Sylvia was crying, sobbing, her body trembling. She looked at her tiny child in her arms, tears rolling down her cheeks. She cried out, as if to deny all of the holy saint's warnings. It's a lie, Sylvia sobbed. I can't lose my child like this. Who says my child will die? That's absurd. She held Rayon tightly in her arms. I'll do everything to cure you. Your mother will do whatever it takes. You can't leave, Rayon. Don't be sick. In his past life, Rayon had been a child deprived of love, trained to become a cold-blooded assassin. It had been a long time since he felt this kind of love and warmth. Rayon's eyes widened. What is this feeling? My heart aches. It hurts, and my whole body feels weary. It hurts in my mind. Rayon kept holding on to the thought. I don't want to see this. He wanted to touch Sylvia, to tell her not to cry. Baby Rayon reached out a tiny hand to wipe his mother's tears. Sylvia was startled by the unexpected action from her child. Baby Rayon continued trying to reach out, gently touching his mother's cheek like any other baby would. Rayon uttered his first word, Mama. Rayon said it again, Mama. At that moment, Glenn and the holy saint were deep in conversation when a panicked voice rang out. Lady Sylvia, you mustn't. Stop, please. What's that noise? Helen was trying to stop Sylvia. You mustn't. Sylvia barged into the room where Lord Glenn was conducting official business. Lady Sylvia was panting heavily, looking at her father. He was uncomfortable, lightly scolding her. What is this rudeness? His gaze was stern as he looked at his daughter. This clumsy, shameful child. At that moment, Sylvia suddenly knelt down. I beg you, Father. She bowed her head to the ground, pleading with her father. Please, Father, save Rayon. Sylvia anxiously begged. Father, please, please save Rayon. She choked out through her sobs. You must know the condition of the boy. But he means everything to me. Please, please save my Rayon. Glenn responded very calmly. Surely the boy cannot survive as a warrior. Why should I save a child who cannot be of any help to the family? Sylvia tried to persuade him. Isn't the child your grandson? Lowen asked seriously. The grandson you brought back after abandoning your home. He kept spitting out cold and deep words. The only thing I will do is allow him to carry the Sieghart family name. Consider it the small favor I've done for him. But that's all. Hearing her father say this, Sylvia couldn't accept it. She shouted. Father, Glenn coldly commanded. I have nothing more to say. Take him out. Sylvia still begged until the very last moment. Father, please, please. She begged through her choking sobs. Please, Father, save Rayon. Even though she was rejected, as a mother, how could Sylvia's pleas be stopped by Glenn's indifference? She repeated herself. Please, Rayon. But in the end, she was dragged out of the room. The holy saint watched Sylvia until the door slammed shut. He sighed and said to Glenn, "Huh, you're still as stubborn as always." "Huh." The holy saint looked at his friend, asking, "Is it really that hard? Why are you acting like this when you were the one who told me to come check on your grandson?" Glenn hurriedly brushed the topic aside, saying, "Shut up. Tell me the details of the boy's illness." The holy saint began reporting, "As I've said, his 9 mana channels have been blocked by cold, and as he grows older, the condition will become even more dangerous." The holy saint also knew that last night, Glenn had used his magic on Rayana, pushing back the cold with his aura, so there should be no problem. "But as I've said, your grandson will never be able to become a warrior." Glenn took a small sip of tea and said, "As long as the boy is alive, that doesn't matter." The holy saint was puzzled. "You're acting completely differently from before. You must still love your grandson." "Right." He immediately questioned what he had been trying to protect. "But if you plan to do this, why did you name your grandson Rayon? There are many good names." "Why that one?" Glenn sighed and then explained. "Rayon doesn't only mean darkness." His serious and contemplative expression reflected in his cup. 1,000 years ago, it had a completely opposite meaning. Inside Sylvia's mansion, Rayon gently fed medicine to Rayon, comforting Rayon. "This is the elixir the holy saint gave you. It's a little bitter, but try to bear with it." It wasn't just Rayon who felt uncomfortable. Adults like Helen and Sylvia could smell it and felt like vomiting. Rayon babbled, "Ah, boo-boo." Sylvia opened her eyes and saw Rayon raising his hand, wanting to be held. Helen burst into tears. He swallowed it. Rayon endured the bitterness and drank it. "Helen, that's right. Even though the medicine is very bitter for a child, he must understand people's hearts." She hugged Rayon tightly, tears starting to fall again. She lovingly called her child's name, Rayon. Rayon looked outside, vaguely thinking, "It's a little bitter, but a dose of fire attribute elixir is exactly what I need right now. The warmth will push the cold out of my mana channels." Sylvia sobbed again. "Do you understand your mother's heart?" Baby Rayon finally gained another year. Now, the boy could speak clearly, no longer babbling one word at a time. "Give me more of the elixir." Time passed quickly, and it had been 2 years since I started training and drinking the elixir. Now, Rayon had grown a little more. He looked at his hands, gradually feeling the fire energy and rejoicing. Thanks to this, I could reach the fire ring faster. Now, Rayon's condition had greatly improved. His fire ring had reached 1 star. Each day that passed was another day. The fire ring within Rayon's body was trained and accumulated. And 2 more years of persistent training passed. Every day, the boy Rayon did many things. My usual schedule includes playing with Sylvia and Helen in the morning. I'm sure there's no child on this continent busier than me, and I still find time to sleep. As for the night, it's for training. And so, time passed, and I am now 5 years old. Rayon's abilities have improved a lot by now, and I've achieved my 2nd fire ring. My soul has become a little stronger. Thanks to the effect of the 2nd fire ring, my mana power has increased. With the effect of the 2nd fire ring, my willpower has increased. With the effect of the 2nd fire ring, my strength has increased. He smiled with satisfaction. The boy carefully read each word, smiling excitedly. Finally, I did it. I've created my 2nd fire ring. Rayon looked much more energetic. With the 2nd fire ring, the flames now formed a cross shape. My sensitivity to mana has increased a bit. All of this is thanks to this message window. Lost in studying, a call from outside the door woke him up. "Oh dear, Master." Helen entered the room. "Are you awake now? Shall I take your clothes to wash?" Rayon responded quickly. "Yes, go ahead." Rayon looked at Helen working diligently. He thought deeply. Just as I thought. She can't see this message window. The progress update window for Rayon had appeared ever since he was reborn. I saw this window and my status since achieving the 1st fire ring. When Rayon was younger, he was very confused. At first, I wasn't sure what it was, but with my sharp intelligence, I quickly realized it was a convenient system that allowed me to see my condition in an instant. Status window. 1st fire ring status. Bone frost infection. Poor endurance. The baby Rayon back then. When Helen unexpectedly entered, I was startled, but I observed her expression and concluded that she probably couldn't see these messages. Rayon scratched his chin, lost in thought. Even so, The poor physical condition and the ice curse still didn't change. Even though I've reached 2 stars, if I hadn't taken the fire elixir, how difficult would it have been to reach 2 stars? He vaguely thought, and it wasn't just the elixir. Rayon thought for a long time. Certainly, Sylvia, Helen, and others in the mansion had contributed to this over the past 5 years. So their care must have helped in some way. Helen left, leaving Raon alone in the room, his thoughts spinning. The boy sighed. Even so, I'm still only 5 years old. I still have a lot of time, so there's no need to rush. It turns out that when I was young, Rayon got tired, not because I was a baby, but because my body was cursed with a troublesome ice curse. Poor endurance was also the same. That's why I got tired easily, even with normal movements. But Rayon quickly regained his spirits. However, in my previous life, I was known as the best assassin, and now I also know the best training methods for the fire ring. With my experience as a foundation, as long as I can obtain the fire ring, those poor physical conditions will completely disappear. Moreover, if I learn the sword techniques of Sieghart, I will definitely be able to kill Darius, but I need to wait for the right moment for revenge. Rayon is still just a 5-year-old boy. I am aware of this. Even so, I can't rush. Darius is a contender for the title of the strongest person on the continent. Thinking about that face, Rayon told himself, I won't be able to stand it if I get worked up about revenge so soon. Only a few people have the ability to kill him. Even if it takes time, I will slowly increase my strength until the opportunity appears. I will end it once and for all. So Rayon had to console himself. Then, I'll train a little more. At that moment, Sylvia entered. Are you awake? The boy Raon looked at his mother with an innocent expression. Sylvia was holding Rayon's clothes in her hands. She said, Do you remember I told you we have to go somewhere together? Change into your clothes and come to the main hall. Rayon glanced up and asked absent-mindedly, Is today the day? Rayon was lost in his thoughts again. The 6 kings and 5 demons had maintained the balance of power on the continent, and Raon was lucky to be part of that, thanks to the Sieghart family. My family was reborn into one of the 6 kings. The boy Rayon sat with his mother in the carriage, looking out at the scenery. The 6 kings bestow blessings, while the 5 demons threaten the peace. Meanwhile, other forces also have a judgment ritual to decide whether someone is good or bad. And today is the ritual of Gigas. Inside a room, the banquet was filled with people, most of whom were high-ranking nobles. They chatted loudly. It's been a long time. This is the first time we've met since the judgment ritual last year. Right. It's because I've been busy with missions overseas. Haha. Is there any direct descendant participating this year? Whispers filled the room. I heard it's the 4th son of Karun. Haha. I also heard it's Sylvia. As soon as Sylvia and Raon entered, they heard unkind words. What? Sylvia. That failure. When they saw her enter, the room went silent. All eyes were on the 2 of them, everyone looking at Sylvia and the boy Rayon, with an attitude of discrimination and coldness. Sylvia tightly held Rayon's hand, walking through the whispers. So that's Sylvia's son. The boy is still so young. I heard he's sick, so the rumors must be true. How can he avoid it? He inherits the blood of a failure. Isk. Should I call him the offspring of a failure? After a while, the whispers still didn't stop. I can't believe she's allowed to step foot in here. Do we really need a judgment ritual for the child of a failure? I really hope I never have to see them again. Honestly, the standards have really dropped. Rayon was also saddened by this. He had been reborn into the family, so he couldn't avoid feeling uncomfortable when hearing such talk. The direct descendants were mocking him a lot. Is there something I don't know? I don't care about being insulted. But the 2 of them remained silent, walking through the insults. She really has no shame. Rayon was shocked when he heard this. The boy stopped. Sylvia quickly noticed and hurried to comfort her son. It's okay, Rayon. The boy looked up at his mother. Sylvia still smiled gently and softly said, Just look at me, Rayon, and you'll understand. Don't worry anymore, a voice announced. The master is entering. The calm footsteps entered. Rayon also looked up, following the steps. It's been a long time. It must have been 5 years. Right. His grandfather, Lord Glenn, had entered. He sat proudly on the golden-rimmed chair in the main hall. He was Rayon's grandfather. the best assassin of the Robert Glenn family. Sieghart Glenn. Slowly, Glenn spoke. It seems everyone is here now. Suddenly, he clapped his hands as a signal. Immediately, from above, a gigantic sword shot down. Rayon stared intently. Is that the judgment sword? Glenn declared. Let the judgment ritual begin. Glenn quickly signaled to his subordinates. At his signal, a sword was sent straight down. Everyone looked up. At that moment, Glenn boldly declared, let the judgment ritual begin. The boy Rayon opened his eyes wide. Is that the judgment sword? If someone places their hand on the sword, it can reveal their mana abilities. Glenn's subordinates began reading from the list. Let's begin. The first one is Burden Sieghart. There's a child around Rayon's age upstairs. Rayon responded clearly. Yes. The boy Burden came down and touched the sword. The skull of a child whose crown hasn't fully developed yet. By the time they reach 4 years old, it will start to close and merge. After that, their mana abilities won't change. As soon as Burden touched the sword, it reacted. That's why the children were gathered to know the extent of their mana abilities in this judgment ritual. Everyone applauded in praise. The boy has the wind attribute. Look, the sword is glowing. His mana quality is also the best. What a genius. Truly Karun's son. Glenn nodded. This attribute is not bad. Very suitable for a swordsman. You should focus on feeling the energy of the wind. The next name was called. Next is Ronald Sulian. From the vassal family, Sulian. Rayon stood watching, confident that he could understand how the sword worked. The light on the sword's blade shows the purity of the mana, while the mana attribute is displayed at the sword's hilt. Rayon realized. So this is how he determines the talent of others. Sieghart Runan was also praised by everyone as a genius from the Sulian family. It's not by coincidence that the girl carries the Sulian surname. She is related to Lord Burden. Only Rayon was weary. Everyone in this family was obsessed with the word talent. He also knew his own fate. He guessed his results wouldn't be good. Even though he succeeded in reaching a 2-star flame link, there was still a lot of cold energy from icy chill in his mana flow. Oh well, I don't really care. The subordinates continued reading. Finally, you are... Everyone focused, waiting for the name to be called. It was Rayon Sieghart Glenn. Suddenly, Glenn became more focused. His eyes grew more worried. Earlier, Rayon stepped forward at the call. Please, come forward, Sylvia gently said. Let's go. Rayon. Yes. Rayon didn't show any expression like the other kids did earlier. I don't expect anything. Just need to check which attribute suits this body, and which one I should develop in the future. Sylvia smiled kindly and softly said, Did you see how the other kids did it? Just do exactly the same. Rayon replied. Yes. I understand. Huh? Rayon sighed. Ah! Rayon gently extended his hand, lightly touching the sword's blade. Contrary to the soft and pleasing light from earlier, as soon as Rayon touched the sacred sword, it immediately emitted a brilliant golden light, resembling a fire. Rayon stared in confusion, wondering what that light was. The boy's eyes became dazed. Before Rayon, hundreds of monsters in various shapes appeared. He mumbled in his mind, What am I seeing? Rayon watched in utmost confusion. The boy Rayon sat on the ground, looking at the figure before him, asking, Who is this person? The man raised the sword high, and a powerful aura radiated from him. He swung the sword decisively, and the monsters were quickly defeated. The monsters disappeared, leaving only a strange light behind. Rayon stared, still confused. Ah! Why is the sword? Around them, voices of judgment and mockery were heard. Look, the light hasn't even reached half of the sword. Glenn quickly gave an order. The judgment ritual has ended. You may go. Everyone quickly left, no one bothering to hide their scornful smiles. The smile they reserved only for Rayon and his mother. The butler respectfully said, I'll take my leave. Young Master Burden. The last guest left, and the door slammed shut. Glenn remained seated in his chair, his tone harsh as he spoke. I guess nothing will come of this. To Lord Glenn, he wasn't expecting much, so he wasn't too disappointed or embarrassed. I think the boy has reached his limit. After all, I don't expect anything from this child. Suddenly, Glenn noticed something. The sacred sword was still glowing, and the light grew brighter and brighter. Glenn looked in astonishment. The sword was shining. He frowned. thinking about the 5 words golden light from the sun. The radiance that the first head of the Sieghart family had was an immense power, strong enough to balance both demonic fire. He recalled the words he had read, golden mana and golden fire. This golden, blinding mana had only appeared once before. Glenn pondered. Throughout the history of the Sieghart family, this light reminds him of something. It's beautiful, dazzling, with a golden brilliance. It is the golden fire. The more he thought, the more amazed Glenn became. Rayon. This child. The next morning, Rayon received new information from the status window. Name: Rayon Sieghart. Title: None. Status: Nguyen Chucho. Weak endurance. Reduced physical energy. Reduced mana affinity. 2-star flame link. Quite weak 2-star? Okay. Rayon smiled with satisfaction. It looks like I'm about to reach my 3rd flame link. 7 years had passed since the first judgment ritual. Time passed coldly. Rayon had grown much taller, his face still youthful, but much different from before. Now I'm 12 years old. The years passed as Rayon drifted in his thoughts. 3 years since the judgment ritual took place, and with constant training, my 2 flame link are about to rise. The boy Rayon sat on the lush green grass, thinking for a long time, if I can cure the ice curse, my development speed will be much faster. My water resistance has increased to 2 stars, and the frost chill phenomenon spreading throughout my body has disappeared. So now my limbs are no longer stiff. Of course, moving my body is still quite difficult, but it's much better than before. So Rayon told himself, I need to start exercising. As he sat still, a voice suddenly called out, Brother Rayon, it's your mother. Sylvia, she said, you need to prepare. What are you doing here? Let's go. We can't be late. Rayon replied, his expression serious. Yes, it's time for me to join the 2nd judgment ritual. I guess I'll have to see those confusing things again. A few hours later, the ritual ended. Everyone quickly exchanged greetings. And finally, Greer said, You've worked hard. So, the judgment ritual ends here. Rayon sat quietly, thinking, maybe because only the direct descendants were here. Things proceeded faster. I think my name will be called next. Rayon Sieghart Glenn was stern, asking his grandson, You must have received the order to join the basic training course as a member of the family. So why hasn't there been a response after a month? Rayon stared blankly at him. What is he talking about? Basic training. Sylvia quickly intervened to defend her son. Father, Rayon is different from the other children. The boy still has ice curse in his body, so training is still too much for him. So you've been hiding this. Rayon understood after seeing his mother's actions. Sylvia knew about this. Glenn coldly declared, This is the Sieghart territory. He frowned, his face clearly serious. There are no exceptions or refusals from those who have received the name Sieghart. If you can't walk, crawl over and train. A member of the Sieghart family must have this spirit. Sylvia panicked and begged, No, please, please. Father, give me some time. Len responded angrily. Sylvia was stunned. If you don't get permission, are you planning to run away again? Are you going to take that child with you? Glenn threw harsh words at his only daughter. On this land, you can only live as a member of the Sieghart family. If you don't like it, then leave right now. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone around was in an uproar. What's going on? Is she trying to run away again? This will be interesting. Now, she doesn't even have any mental energy or mana flow to break free. I can't believe someone like her is from the direct line. Rayon watched his mother endure, then realized, Now I understand. The reason Sylvia is treated like this is not surprising. Rayon understood that it was because she had left this family. He carefully pieced together the details. Sylvia had no aura, even though she was trained in martial arts. This meant that she had broken her mental energy, and her mana flow was completely destroyed. Then, she left the family and met my father, marrying him. Fate didn't smile on Sylvia. But after she became pregnant with me, my father died, and she had no choice but to return home. Sylvia was helpless. She knew she couldn't persuade her tough father, so she turned and left. Rayon looked at his mother, because she had given up her position in the direct line, and now returned. She was treated even worse than a member of the collateral branch. However, that was the perspective of others, and in their situation, the figure of the assassin Raon, with a suffocating aura, passed by, making Sylvia flinch. But when she turned to look, she saw no assassin, only her son, Rayon. The boy was full of spirit, arrogant, stepping confidently forward. Rayon thought, as Sylvia's son, I can't bear to see my mother treated this way. Seeing Rayon step forward, Sylvia shouted, Rayon, what are you doing? Come back here. Young master, I'll handle this. Please. Rayon reassured his mother. His gaze was resolute. It's okay, mother. He stepped forward and spoke clearly to Glenn. By your command, I will join the training course starting next month, as you have ordered. At this moment, Daniel sat beside Glenn and spoke up. But I didn't even know there was a training course. And he's also worried about Rayon, no matter what it's called. Basic training is not something a sick person can endure. You should withdraw right away. Rayon faced the advice and the judging looks, then spoke clearly and loudly. I already carry the Sieghart name, so I will have to pay the price for that. I will participate in the training. Glenn was angry, his face contorting as he scolded. How dare you stain the Sieghart name? Do you understand the seriousness of mentioning the Sieghart name? The pressure Glenn emitted made Rayon feel a bit scared. He looked at his grandfather, his face turning pale. Suddenly, a few drops of blood dripped from Rayon's eyes. The look of horror was clear. His eyes were wide open, stunned as if his flesh was being torn apart. Rayon's hands trembled, trying to hold on tightly to stay calm. Even just a gaze could have this effect on me. It feels like my heart is being twisted. It affects me even more than Robert did. In his mind, Rayon wondered, is this the warrior? The king of destruction from the north? Sylvia hurriedly ran over and hugged Rayon. Your Highness. Rayon is still young, so he doesn't know what he's saying. Daniel also spoke up. Your Highness. The boy is just a child. He doesn't know anything. Please lift the pressure you've placed on him. Glenn raised his voice, his words carrying heavy gravity, immediately making those who heard them tremble with fear. I am speaking, Daniel stuttered. I'm sorry, Your Highness. Sylvia still tried to beg. She held Rayon tightly. Father, Rayon's health cannot handle training. Please, please. Father, retract the pressure. Rayon, still in shock, muttered in his head. Assassins are people who must live in the shadows. Being an assassin means that every moment is closer to death than life. They will never reveal themselves. His past urged him forward. And Rayon, at 12 years old, stepped up. But now I'm no longer the assassin I once was. The boy, Rayon, turned to look at his old self. He reminded himself, I will no longer live in the shadows. Rayon, 12 years old, stared at his former self, telling himself, I will not live as an assassin anymore. The boy Rayon gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down. Rayon repeatedly reminded himself of his desire. Right now, I am Rayon Sieghart, and I will return Sylvia to her rightful place. The boy then spoke loudly again. No, I didn't know. Because I grew up in a branch mansion, not the main building. I don't know how arrogant the Sieghart name is. That's why I want to see with my own eyes what the place called Sieghart is truly like. By participating in the training, the boy Rayon, reborn and living happily every day, was now taken care of and raised by Sylvia. As Rayon, I will protect Sylvia, the happiness, and the smiles of the people precious to me. Since my rebirth, desire and love have quietly revived the heart that was once barren and corrupted. For the first time in my life, I want to fight for the life of others, not to take anyone's life. That's why Rayon told himself he must restore his mother's honor. I will definitely reclaim everything with my own hands. Glenn had calmed down, but his demeanor remained stern. You mean you will judge the Sieghart family through basic training? Rayon replied without hesitation. Right now, that's the only way I can learn about the Sieghart family. Glenn responded. Then I will have to inspect everything to make sure the instructor is fully prepared. He did his best, hoping not to disappoint the child. After pushing himself like this, Rayon staggered and fell. In my past life, I was the best assassin, and now I'm someone who has learned about the legend of the 6 fire elements. If I can use all the power from them, then reaching a high position in the family is not impossible. But even as he fell, Rayon's hand remained clenched tightly. In his mind, the thought echoed, I will show you how tough the pebble you look down on truly is. The boys of the family were enthusiastically training. Karun sat in the room, arms crossed, slightly doubtful. Isn't that boy a sick person who can't even move? He is the master of the martial arts hall. Karun Zieghart, the secretary beside him, quickly reported. Yes, only one or two maids overheard the conversation between the saint and the family head. The young master must have been very ill. Karun pondered. Before, when I saw the boy, his body wasn't normal. How could he withstand the pressure from me? Karun cleared his throat and said, now that I think about it, Sylvia was once the most talented person. He gave an order to his secretary. Put someone in the annex. In the garden. Rayon practiced hard every day. He always tried to move as fast as possible. Sylvia ran right behind him, fearing that Rayon might overexert himself and tire out. So she hurriedly called, Rayon, don't push yourself too hard. But Rayon continued to do his best. At training ground number 5, Glenn walked in while everyone greeted him. Let us all welcome the clan leader's visit. Welcome, Lord. Elsewhere, Rimmer was lying on the sofa with his hat covering his eyes. Suddenly, a voice echoed. Stop pretending to sleep. Get up. Rimmer jumped up in surprise when he saw Glenn. Oh my, I can't believe it. He smiled and said, you are the only one who can see through my pretending to sleep. Clan leader, he said with arms crossed. Reproachfully, the trainers are sweating and running around. While you're leisurely here, Glenn smiled nonchalantly and said, of course, they will follow my orders. I use my head, and they do the hard work. It's only fair. He was helpless. At 50, you still act like a child. Glenn laughed and replied, people change, and that's death. Ah, but I'm Elf Rimmer. Glenn asked a question, making Glenn become serious. Did you come here because of your youngest grandson? He crossed his arms and said, Miss Sylvia also came and spoke with me. But I didn't expect you, the clan leader, to come personally like this. He was surprised by this. Sylvia has been here. He replied, she asked me not to let Rayon get hurt. He placed his hand on his hip and advised, if that's your intention too, then this trip of yours is probably wasted. The clan leader himself said that no one can interfere with training at ground number 5. Not even you. Suddenly, his attitude changed, becoming serious. If you care about your youngest grandson, then I am no exception, Glenn replied calmly. Of course. He didn't expect him to react like that. Stunned. Huh. He's seriously reminding me, don't lower the training intensity. Increase it until you think it's appropriate, and eliminate the weak ones. Rimmer seemed shocked, but quickly shut his mouth. Then your grandson will be kicked out. Are you saying this? Clan leader. He then entered his self-absorbed mode, shyly covering his face. Oh my, you care for your grandchildren more than I thought. Could it be that you couldn't take good care of Miss Sylvia? So you're pouring all your affection onto that little one. No. Hearing that, he got a bit angry and said, if you weren't my comrade in the military, I would have had your head already. He reminded him not to go easy on the boy, and to clearly distinguish the strong from the weak. Only those who meet the standards should remain for training. Rimmer turned around with a smile on his face. Then it would be an honor to obey your command. Glenn achieved his goal, and then turned to leave. Well, do whatever you want. I'm off. He waved his hand and smiled. Yes. Take care on your way. Clan leader. He crossed his arms, looked out the window, and murmured, Rayon. I'm very curious. What are you? The system then appeared. 3rd Fire Circle obtained. Fire Circle achieved 3 stars. Your body and soul have become slightly stronger due to the effect of the 3-star Fire Circle. Strength, agility, and endurance have increased due to the effect of the 3-star Fire Circle. Mana affinity, willpower, and energy have been enhanced due to the effect of the 3-star Fire Circle. 3-star capabilities. One of the 9 strands of the Frostmist Cursed Lord has disappeared. Rayon sat on the bed, controlling the system, thinking to himself, 3 stars completely belong to a different level. My body's perception ability has increased, and my mind is clearer than before. He recalled Sylvia worrying about him. Why do I have to force myself from the very first day? He said in pain. It just happened that way. Thanks to Sylvia's intervention, his muscles began developing without much difficulty. He touched the muscles in his arm. Moreover, the magic station window further promoted his growth. This life is like a chessboard, But this is just the starting point of the family's training. Glenn is famously known for his extreme methods of training beyond the 3-star level. Just the necessary foundation to start as an apprentice in the family. A solid foundation is necessary to build a tall house and live through the days to come. What he hoped for was to have someone at the forefront of the military. By demonstrating superior achievements, he would make those who mocked him shut up, and the top target was Robert. So, after all, the sacred sword. Darius Robert appeared, and Rayon pondered deeply. I won't stop until I slit his throat. Suddenly, he was startled by a voice calling his name. Rayon. It turned out it was Sylvia. You're still awake. He was flustered. Ah, mother, he asked curiously. Why are you here at this hour? She sat down on the bed and said, Tomorrow, you'll be going to the training grounds to start basic training. Right. I came to talk to you. She smiled gently and warmly. Do you really have to go, then? She confided in him. Actually, I still want to stop you. You always hold back, no matter how much it hurts. I don't know what I'd do if you got hurt all over during your training. Sylvia placed her hand on Rayon's shoulder, feeling reluctant. I'm not saying you can't go, but just for 1 year. Delay it for 1 year. Okay. But his answer was already decided, causing her heart to slow down for a moment. No, I can't back down. He remembered the looks people gave him and said, every time I see relatives near and far, every time I meet someone, whenever I see their expressions, it's as if they're looking at a weakling. He said sadly, placing his hand on his chest. When they look down on you, mother, I feel so angry. That's why I can't back down. His determination was immense. As long as he trained well, they wouldn't be able to look down on him anymore. These words completely moved Sylvia. She smiled, bowed her head, and her cheeks turned a little pink. She dug her nails into her own palm and said, You're very smart, Rayon. You must have realized the reason I live alone and why people curse me. She shared the story of her love. I met your father while on a mission and fell in love with him. But because of your father's knight status, we couldn't be together easily. Then, for love, she made a painful decision. Because of that, I destroyed my mana veins and spiritual energy and left the clan. Sylvia decided to reveal her long-held secret. Actually, you have an older sister. She's 2 years older than you. Her name is Saya. The peaceful life didn't last long. While I was living quietly, the army from Eden found us and assassinated us. She and her husband were forced to take up swords and fight. Your father wasn't strong enough, and I was pregnant with. Sylvia's eyes filled with fear. That's why we couldn't do anything. A miracle happened, but it was too late. Luckily, your father always silently protected me. But they were far away. By the time they arrived, it was too late. She was in pain as she faced the truth, tears uncontrollably falling from her eyes. At that time, your father and sister lost their lives. Sylvia only smiled faintly whenever she mentioned it. I had no place to go, no other choice. I had to return to the clan. That's why I'm considered a sinner in this clan. Her face was full of sorrow. I don't know what to say to your grandfather. After hearing all of this, Rayon thought to himself, how selfish. Sylvia is really selfish. He viewed and judged her for abandoning her responsibility to the clan, pursuing her own happiness, returning only to find someone to care for her. He understood why she was treated so harshly, but Sylvia gave him this new life. For the first time, he met someone who truly loved him like this. After everything, he thought she was selfish, but at least to him, she was the only mother he had in 2 lifetimes. He asked aloud, Mother, do you regret it? Would you want to go back to the time before you left home? She smiled and answered, No, I don't regret it. She remembered the happy times with the one she loved. I lived as if I didn't exist in this house. Only when I left here did I feel alive. That was enough. The smile on her face gradually brightened, and a happy expression appeared. At that time, I was truly happy, and now I'm happy, because I have you in my life. Sylvia lowered her eyes and continued, I'm very sorry, Rayon. I wasn't a good mother. Rayon quickly comforted her, placing his hand on hers. It's okay. I'm fine. Don't worry. He looked at her and thought to himself, even if others criticize his mother as selfish, she is the irreplaceable and precious mother to him. He looked at Sylvia, whose face was teary from being moved. The revenge would succeed after he helped her regain the position of clan heir. Roughly. A tear of happiness rolled down Sylvia's cheek. She couldn't hold back and broke into tears. Rayon was flustered. "Mother, why are you crying like this?" It was already late at night. Rayon stepped out of the room, letting out a tired sigh. Finally, she calmed down. He sat down on the bed, speaking to himself. "I should check on Flame Link's progress, and then go to sleep. The training will start soon." He crossed his legs and began pressing his palms together. A wave of green energy emanated at that moment. He thought to himself, "Not bad. The spinning speed of Flame Link has improved after reaching 3 stars. If it's this fast at 3 stars, how fast will it be in the intermediate stage?" Suddenly, a small flame flared up violently, causing him to flinch. A voice suddenly rang out. "Finally, it's here." The flame grinned mindlessly. "Your wrath has reached me, the essence of the Emperor. By the name of Second Demon Lord of the Demon World, I will avenge you with my wrath." Rayon didn't understand what was happening. "What is this?" The system suddenly appeared. Mystical energy has been activated. The energy of wrath has been established. Wrath has awakened. It narrowed its eyes, observing Rayon's body and soul. It's wondering why there's a child here." Rayon was confused. "What are you?" It was also confused, just like him, as if it was the one who should be asking that question. "Who are you?" "My wrath isn't something a little nobody like you can generate." Its eyes widened. No. It's you deep inside. You are hiding a deep resentment. The essence of the Emperor crawls up your body. Offer your soul to me. In return, I will help you get the revenge you have always desired." Rayon thought of Robert, wondering if he had appeared because of his anger at Darius before his death. But now it was too late. He looked at it directly and said, "No, I don't need your help. I will avenge myself." It was confused. "Huh?" It wrapped around him, while he thought, "I will never get a second chance. I can't let someone else avenge me." "Then," he said, "I will be the one to take Darius's head." It spoke up. "It seems you're mistaken, kid." It bared its teeth and clarified, "I'm not here to negotiate with you." It flared up a large flame and said, "I, the essence of the Emperor, have made my decision." Rayon was confused, his expression somewhat worried, rubbing his shoulder, thinking, "What is this? Why does this flame feel so cold?" Could it be? The flame blazed ferociously and spoke in a terrifying voice. "You only need to sacrifice your body to me." Then, it rushed wildly toward him. He was stunned, his whole body stiff, unable to react. The essence of the Emperor erupted, growing larger, overwhelming Rayon completely. At this moment, the glass water cup on the nightstand cracked slightly. He clutched his chest, his body heavy, thinking, "So cold. My body doesn't even feel like mine. It's as if my mind is frozen too." His elemental affinity is ice, not fire. The face of the essence of the Emperor gradually appeared, speaking. "It's like it's hypnotizing you. Think about it. Release your wrath. Even if they are gods, I, the essence of the Emperor, will end them." He trembled uncontrollably from the cold, the deep bitterness in my heart. I have a skill to resist water, so I can endure a little more. But this attack wasn't just about temperature. He felt uneasy facing this entity. A bad feeling arose. It kept provoking his anger. The essence of the Emperor whispered in his ear, "I'll smash their head and feast on their flesh. Drink their blood. Hurry up and surrender. Sacrifice your body to me." He thought about his loved ones. If I give him this body, who knows what he'll do? Sylvia and the servants in the house. He couldn't allow them to be sacrificed to him, even if it meant death. The essence of the Emperor returned to its green flame form. "If you release your wrath and accept me, you'll feel at ease. But you choose to continue struggling pointlessly like this. I never wanted to harm this body, wanting to keep it for later. But I think doing that won't lead to anything either." It kept muttering in his ear, "I won't show mercy on you anymore. I'll just devour you alive and be done with it." His expression was full of pain at this moment. "My body feels like it's about to shatter." He gritted his teeth and endured, gripping shoulders tightly. "I'm at my limit. This body can't hold out much longer. If it continues like this, I'll die soon. Do you want to live?" Suddenly, he was startled, his eyes widening. Then he clasped his hands together and began controlling his energy. "If I can resist ice aura with my water resistance skill, then perhaps I can endure the physical and mental pain of using Flame Link. To live, this is the only way. At this moment, the fire and water skills fused together, surprising Imperial Essence. Its face was confused. Huh? It was angry, unable to believe the truth. Huh? I just awakened. How could this happen? A little human dares to challenge me. Rayon's face was filled with determination. I will take revenge myself. I refuse to let a wandering soul possess my body. Imperial Essence heard this and became so furious it nearly twisted into shape, shouting, "A wandering soul! How dare you call the demon lord of the demon world a wandering soul?" And he responded calmly, "You dare call yourself the demon lord when you can't even defeat me? Why do you keep provoking it? Or is the real demon lord already dead? You should just disappear." It scowled. "How dare you mock me?" He broke into a sweat, thinking, he said he just awakened. Maybe that's why he can't use all his power. Suddenly, the system appeared. Supportive ability. What is this? Why is it? Imperial Essence realized what it was and screamed, "It's my power." The status window. How do you possess it? He was a bit surprised. His stats clearly visible. Stats, Rayon asked. What's the status window and the message? What does it have to do with you? Imperial Essence, though angry, still answered, "Of course it's related. That system was created by me. But do you know why I can use it?" It kept making him more confused. "What's the system for?" "It's like it's playing with me," he answered with a gloomy face. "I don't have to tell you anything." He kept asking, "Is this also to boost growth?" Imperial Essence didn't expect him to figure it out. Stammering, "How do you know?" His face remained indifferent, thinking to himself, he can't even control his emotions. No wonder he is wrath. He felt the flow of energy in his body connecting with the system. Strange. The effect of Flame Link is even stronger than in my past life. So everything was thanks to the system. Imperial Essence was gradually losing patience, growling angrily, shouting, "Quickly sacrifice your body and return my power." It spoke loudly and opened its mouth wide. "Give it back." It clung to his body. "What do you think you're doing?" Rayon crossed his arms, expressionless, and said, "It's worth trying once, though I haven't used much mana for that punch." He stood with his arms crossed, watching Imperial Essence fuming. "How dare a human treat me like this?" He thought to himself. Is he an invisible soul? Then aura won't work on him. He's been showing off like this, yet no one has appeared. He waved his hand to send the flame flying elsewhere. Maybe I'm the only one who can see and feel him. Suddenly, it screamed, "Catch it!" To Rayon's surprise, a green flame wrapped around his wrist and immediately formed into a ring with a snowflake pattern. Rayon looked at it, confused. "This is..." Imperial Essence's voice echoed from the ring. "My seal was just broken, but my power will return. At the right time, you won't be able to stop me. I will haunt you until you have no more wrath, no more resentment." He frowned, feeling slightly uncomfortable. He's really annoying. Then he thought, I really want to kill him. He imagined Sylvia sleeping soundly. But if I force him to separate from me, the system might disappear. And who knows what he will do. Sylvia and Helen might try to force me. Rayon brought the ring closer to his eye, examining it closely. Better keep him close to monitor him. I'll trust in my own progress. Hopefully, I can control him. It was late outside, and the moon was high above. The two of them continued to argue with each other. It was somewhat unrelated, but in the end, they chose the flower bracelet. "This doesn't suit you at all. It's my personal preference. Don't judge me." "All right, fine. Whatever." Finally, the new day began. The bones gradually melted, and clouds covered the towering hills. Helen was trying to comfort Sylvia. "Young master will be fine." Sylvia was tense. "I know, but still." Suddenly, at this moment, Rayon's voice rang out. "I'm ready." He stepped down the stairs with a bright smile on his face. The crow went to the training grounds. Helen reminded Rayon, "Young master, remember to be careful. Don't push yourself too hard." He replied, "I remember." "Helen, will you be coming back?" Helen started a conversation with Sylvia, who was sniffling. "Miss Sylvia, you're seeing off the young master like this. He'll be heartbroken." Upon hearing this, she immediately sat down and placed her hand on his shoulder. "Rayon, be careful on your way. Don't worry, as I've told you. If it's too difficult, just skip it." Don't force yourself. Immediately after, he left, waving to say goodbye. Sylvia looked at her son's back and said, "Everything will be fine." Right. Helen comforted her. The young master has improved a lot. He will get through the training and come back. Her eyes were filled with sorrow. Yes, compared to before, he's much better now. But this child, she recalled the moments from before. Helen was trying to convince her, Miss Sylvia, with Rayon's efforts, he will succeed. He's renowned for his sharpness and Sieghart. He will make it. Rayon hugged her and reassured her. That's right, Mother. I promised. I won't let myself get hurt. Hearing these mature words from him, Sylvia shed tears of happiness and some sadness. Don't worry. I'll keep my word. Sylvia placed her hand on her chest, recalling Rayon's voice. Trust in me. She whispered his name, Rayon. Watching his back as he left, she couldn't hold back her tears, trembling, and turned away for his safe return. At Sieghart, training ground, number 5. The students were getting to know each other. Which house are you from? I'm sure they're not too strict with students. Right. My parents told me to make it into the top 10. Rayon looked around, thinking to himself, just as rumored. So many people have come here. He walked alone, ignoring the children playing around him. Not only were there relatives attending the Sieghart training, but also those nominated by the family. He kept thinking about Helen's words. Since so many people came this year, they even had to set up 6 training grounds. Suddenly, a few voices caught his attention. Isn't that him? A few people looked at him and whispered, look at his muscles. Just touching him would probably break him apart. A sickly guy like him, he'll probably run halfway. Why is he here showing off? Not only that, he's even criticizing Imperial Essence and the flower bracelet. It's so outdated. Imperial Essence heard this and was furious. What are you saying? It walked up to the two and cursed aimlessly. Trash. You noble fools. Imperial Essence will crush your bones and gouge your eyes out. Suddenly, Rayon spoke up. Why are you two talking about him? He said with a calm expression, looking straight at them. Don't you know it's wrong to talk behind someone's back? The two of them were startled upon hearing this. How dare you? You're clearly a spoiled brat forced to live in the annex. And you belong to an outsider's family, not direct bloodline. He didn't lose his temper, but tilted his head and asked, what's your status to use the word dare when you come from a collateral line? It seemed like he had hit a nerve. The two of them were speechless. Isn't that word only for those with lower status? One of them, losing composure, rushed forward and grabbed his collar, throwing a punch. You're such an unreasonable brat. Rayon's eyes glowed brightly, his face terrifying. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Stop right now! It turned out to be Burden from behind. The training is about to start. What are you two doing? In front of outsiders. You dare tarnish the reputation of the Sieghart family. The two, seeing him, were embarrassed, scratching their heads and stammering. Sorry, Burden. He walked up to Raon, crossed his arms, and said, You need to know your place. His face was full of arrogance. You're just a tiny speck of sand that I could easily brush away. If you don't want to be kicked out of the annex, then live quietly. Burden thought of the people in the annex and jealous. The brat in front of him had caught the attention of the clan leader, but he used circumstances instead of his own real ability. He was furious, gritting his teeth. A clueless idiot who doesn't even deserve to be trained dares to. He turned his back and walked away, not forgetting to threaten Rayon. If you're not going to participate in the training, then get out of here right now. Otherwise, stay out of my sight, because you'll never make it through this training. Rayon replied nonchalantly, making Burden jump. I've heard enough of your nonsense. It was time for him to argue back. You're of direct descent, but you have no rank. You're going to kick me out of the annex. You think you can do that when you're not even a student yet? Saying this, his face showed a bit of dissatisfaction. Oh, I guess you might have a chance if you go beg and cry to your father. Burden made an unpleasant face. How dare a collateral descendant, just as the confrontation was about to escalate. The nearby door was suddenly opened by the long, graceful foot of Rimmer. He seemed excited about the situation and said loudly, Wow, you all are fighting already. Ah, I guess it's because you young people have such spirit. Right. Rayon immediately recognized him when he saw him. Isn't that Rimmer? The light sword of the Sieghart family. He heard that he had retired after his mental energy was damaged. Rimmer still smiled and said, "How about after the opening ceremony? You all continue fighting." Rayon's thoughts continued. "I didn't expect him to be here." Burden clicked his tongue and turned away. He spoke loudly to all the students. "Welcome. I am the chief instructor, and I'll be overseeing your training process." He smiled brightly and introduced himself. "My name is Rimmer, and I look forward to working smoothly with all of you." Rimmer stood above, hands on his hips, speaking loudly in a natural manner. "I heard there are 160 students here for training, but only 8 instructors. It's obviously too many students, so I'll reduce that number through a test." At this point, Rimmer's face was full of excitement. "Exactly. We'll only keep 1/4 of you." The people below were startled upon hearing this. "Only keep that few people? No way! What does this mean?" "I'm just separating the good from the bad. As you know, I only want to select a few outstanding people." Imperial Essence got angry upon hearing this. "This arrogant bastard. Do you dare look down on Imperial Essence? I'll tear the ears off this damn imp." Rayon grabbed the bracelet and quietly walked away. Rimmer sat down on a chair and continued speaking. "In this training ground, I am the law. If you have any complaints, go meet the clan leader. I'll start now." His face was completely calm. "Hoof! What are you all doing? Run now." They were confused and didn't understand what was going on. "Hey, although I don't understand, everyone is running with their legs in the air, cheered on by him. Endurance and willpower are the foundation of martial arts. Run laps in the gym until I tell you to stop. Run at full speed for me." At this point, Imperial Essence mumbled, "If you want to run, you need to move ahead. Why are you staying behind? Why is he suddenly making us run?" Rayon ran lightly. "It's not a competition. There's no need to outrun anyone." He thought about Rimmer's personality, quietly thinking, what Rimmer values are the potential and character of a person. "Among the students here, you seem to be the most special." He didn't care about superficial things. His face was dripping with sweat, his eyes full of determination. Those who could endure would get through this test. "I'm sure I'll make it to the end." When they saw Burden and Runan, the others paid attention to them. Young Master Burden and young Lady Runan. They were truly unmatched. Discussing the 2 children. "Everyone is doing very well, but those 2 stand out the most. This isn't even their full speed. At that pace, they could run for hours." The faces of the 2 people turned red from exhaustion. Only 12 years old and already at that level. Every time I think about the future of these children, I get a bit apprehensive. And finally, one of them noticed Rayon. "Is that the kid from the rumors?" "No." Rayon's expression didn't look good. He clasped his chest tiredly. It wasn't surprising. The kid couldn't keep up, constantly falling behind. That child had an illness, and running at that speed was already impressive. They kept talking, not noticing that Rimmer had stood behind the kid, looking tired. "It should be over soon." Rimmer smirked, a look of interest flashing in his eyes as he thought to himself, "Interesting. Have I met a child like him before?" He immediately thought of Glenn. "I thought only those whose potential couldn't be seen were the strongest, because no one could see their depth." Then he imagined the grown-up figures of Burden and Runan. "I can see the traits and colors of those children, knowing what they will become in the future." Rimmer looked at Rayon's back, hesitating. "But what about Rayon?" "Why?" "For him, Rayon is like a transparent object. I can't see any color." His face showed great amusement. "It means the kid's potential is beyond my perception." Unable to hold it back, he laughed out loud. "How fascinating." The students saw Rayon couldn't catch up and teased him. "See, he acts all arrogant, then ends up last. Hey, he should be grateful he's even still in last place. He's going to drop out soon anyway." Looking at his confused expression, "I bet he won't last 10 more minutes." Even he had to widen his eyes in surprise. "It's impossible." He wondered, is this training really that simple? It's not just training. Why are they only making us run? He recalled the nightmarish scene from his previous life. In his past life, they released some monsters that had been starved for days. He had to run for his life to survive. Not just run like this. Thinking about it, his face lit up with a smile. Is it really that simple? All the students pushed themselves to accelerate towards the finish line. Rayon ran at a pace that was neither fast nor slow, gliding past Rimmer. He was a bit panicked, thinking, Is something wrong with that kid? How is he still able to keep running? He thought Rayon should be sitting in a corner, panting by now. His stamina should have run out long ago. This goes beyond what you call persistence or stubbornness. That kid should have no strength left to keep going. Right. Suddenly, he remembered the warriors he trained. Such strength and willpower can only exist in warriors who have trained tirelessly and faced death countless times. How can this kid possess such strong willpower? His face was full of excitement. Speak up, Rayon. Sieghart. How interesting. Burden. By now, he was exhausted and realized Raon was right behind him. He was a bit angry and confused. Why? How can he still keep running? I was sure he had no conditions to train his muscles. He recalled the doctor's words. According to Saint's words, Sylvia's son will likely die, so forget about becoming a warrior. And he had even been worse off the last time. I saw him. That's when Burden secretly overheard Glenn's conversation. But how could he grit his teeth in anger? All of them are really too troublesome. Fine. I'll show them. At that moment, he activated his skill. A beam of light, like lightning, surged forth, controlling the aura for healing. We have a huge skill gap. Are you really willing to give up and surrender? Burden accelerated and left the others behind. Runan continued running nonchalantly, and Raon was a bit surprised. His eyes wide open. He thought to himself, forget about that high-ranking fool. He's just a kid. Then he looked at Runan. In terms of mentality, Runan is more mature than him. He continued to run, determined. We're not competing with each other in this test. This is a battle against ourselves. There's no reason to be distracted by him and mess up my current pace. The end. The sky was now covered in white clouds, and the bright sunlight shone down. Everyone was exhausted after running for so long, all of them panting heavily. One of them felt a bit jealous, wiping the sweat from his cheek. He thought, damn it. What the hell is this? How is he still able to keep running? I was sure they said he was a sick person. At this moment, Rayon was still running with determination. Does he even know what exhaustion is? He seemed to be out of breath, but still tried. Thinking, stop talking nonsense. Like this is easy. Right now, I'm about to die from the coldness of my body. His heart seemed to radiate a fiery red flame. It felt as though his heart and lungs were being squeezed. But somehow, he could still extend his stamina by optimizing the use of his flame link. Though tired, a smile remained on his face. The only thing worth feeling relieved about was that flame link was growing rapidly. I guess I need to give my best, so it can be fully effective. If I keep going like this, the essence up to this point taunted. You're pathetic. Huh? Even though your body will be taken over by the essence of the Emperor, not only are you falling behind, but look at your pathetic state. It grinned with a large green flame. Give it to me. Hand your body over to the essence of the Emperor. Aside from surpassing that green-haired guy, his eyes widened with difficulty. Thinking, damn it, this is the worst time for this. It suddenly erupted and opened its mouth as if to swallow him whole. I will make them all immobile. Even Rayon's body right now. Pain shot through him like a lightning bolt, grinding his teeth. In pain, he tried to encourage himself. I have to endure. His senses were leaving him due to the anger. Sweat dripped down his chin. His legs kept running, and his eyes were getting blurry. But I need to pretend nothing's happening, as much as I can. He reminded the essence of the Emperor. Stop doing your foolish tricks and leave me alone. That thing won't affect me. The essence of the Emperor grinned, saying, don't make me laugh. How can you not be affected? Which mortal on this world can withstand the wrath of the essence of the Emperor? He clenched his chest, hearing its contemptuous voice. Let's see how long you can hold on. Rayon. Rayon opened his mouth wider to gulp down air, thinking, I need to endure this. If I show weakness right now, you can feel that if I loosen up, even for just a second, my body will be taken. It'll dive deep and tear me apart. The essence of the Emperor, seeing him stubborn, screamed, you stubborn fool. Why? Why does the wrath of the essence of the Emperor not affect you? Oh! He staggered forward. His face darkened, feeling real pain. It feels like I'm about to die. I can't even control my body anymore. His vision narrowed, and his sight was fading. He couldn't even breathe properly anymore. His eyes only glimmered with the last faint light. Is this the furthest I can go? At this moment, The other students spoke up. Hey, you can stop now. Burden frowned. You're really stubborn. Rayon leaned on his knee, panting, thinking. I almost collapsed right there. This life certainly won't be easy. Runa looked at him silently. The essence of the Emperor couldn't believe it. Truly a monster. How can you? He smirked and replied, That's why I told you it's useless. It doesn't affect me. He placed his hand on his chest, feeling the intense heat, smiling, thinking. Even so, it's clearly helped the growth of Flame Link further. My body has also developed thanks to the status window. If I keep training like this, I'll definitely be able to. Suddenly, he looked up and froze. It turned out the system board had appeared. The conditions had been met. Extreme movement, surpassing your own physical limits. The stats have been enhanced. Strength increased. Agility increased. Stamina increased. The essence of the Emperor was stunned, unable to believe its eyes. What the hell is going on here? Why is it giving you extra stats for surpassing the attack of the essence of the Emperor? Rayon couldn't hide his surprise. His eyes wide open. The voice of the essence of the Emperor still echoed in his ears. This is ridiculous. Rimmer spoke up at this point. Well done, everyone. We'll end the test here. He continued, making everyone below tense. And about what I said before the run. Who would have thought? He suddenly changed his attitude, 180 degrees, smiling and saying, I was lying about eliminating everyone and keeping only a quarter of you. Everyone seemed dissatisfied, murmuring, What? I ran my best just because of that. He calmly responded, There's no way I'd eliminate so many students on the first day. They wouldn't let me teach anymore if I did that. Besides, did I say I'd eliminate you after this test? Suddenly, his eyes became sharp and cold. But if you keep training like today, most of you will be eliminated. They all jumped at his words. Rimmer walked and spoke clearly. I told you all to run at full speed. However, not a single one of you out of the 160 ran at full speed all the way to the end, except for one. At this point, Burden twitched, and some of you were even sneaky enough to use aura. He crouched right in front of Rayon, resting his chin on his hand and smiling. Actually, what you all do doesn't matter, because the one taking the test is you, not me. He raised his finger and made a symbol showing Rayon lying in it. However, you certainly won't fail the test, as long as you follow my instructions correctly, so don't worry about that. Well, it's not easy to do, Rimmer said, resting his hand on his hip and continuing. From this moment, you will become temporary rookies. I'll remove the temporary if you can pass the test in the next few months. He smiled brightly and added, By the way, I was also planning to pick a top rookie. I won't rank you all. The sky was clear and blue. He still had more to say. Well, you'll be able to experience the luxurious accommodations prepared by the family. And there's also a training field inside on the left side, so you can go check everything out there. We'll end here for now. The forest was vast with many ancient trees. Rimmer had his hands in his pockets and walked, then spoke. I have a guest waiting at my dreamstone. Right, my lord. That person is none other than Green. He asked, How's everything going? He closed his eyes and replied, You shouldn't be the one asking me about that. Right. You must have seen everything already since you came all the way here. He talked about Burden and Runa. And you also know how good I am at assessing others. As expected, Burden and Runa have the most outstanding talents. And the other kids also have the potential to become pillars for the family in the future. He crossed his arms and ambiguously said, However, then I bluntly said, I didn't see anything from Rayon. He continued, I don't understand how the kid could keep running at the end. His stamina should have run out long ago. This is the first time I've seen something like that since I last saw you. My lord. Rimmer leaned back against a rock, laughing and saying, A day passed so boringly, ever since my new energy was dissipated. But I feel like this will be interesting. Green. The cloaked figure left and said, You're the one who wanted to become a guide for those rookies. He left like that, his voice still echoing. Your job isn't to find fun, but to train those kids to become warriors for the family. Sieghart replied, Of course, my lord. Then, he expressed his thoughts further. I feel like I'll be able to entrust my future to one of those rookies. Green knew what Rimmer was implying, but of course, he didn't believe it, thinking it was just a coincidence. That kid is unlikely to become a warrior. He didn't respond, but let him leave. The corner of his mouth slightly curled. You know that's not true. Rayon sighed tiredly and said, the basic training is over. Time to head back to the training camp. The essence of the Emperor muttered. Forget all that. That brat is so nasty. Other students looked at him with hatred. Ridiculous. They're all in the room cooking wolves together. Unless he's doing tricks, there's no way he could last this long. You're right. I've definitely heard about his illness. Crine crossed his arms, confidently asserting, it must be the elixir. He made up a story. I heard rumors that the Holy Saint gave it to him. Right. Did he really do that? The two others believed it completely, murmuring, so. He ran using the power of the elixir, and he's pretending to be so talented because he lasted until the end. What a shameless jerk. Crine tilted his head, mumbling, as I thought. Should we teach that arrogant bastard a lesson? Without hesitation, Rayon was thrown painfully against a tree. He asked in confusion, why did you suddenly do that? He smiled and replied, huh, don't you know? The two companions pointed at his face and yelled, you're discarded by the legitimate bloodline, yet you dare to brag, while you're just using the power of some elixir. You're lucky to have it. Huh, if you didn't get the holy elixir, there's no way you'd be able to run like you did today. He silently listened to their insults, as he was too used to it. How dare you pull these tricks on us? People from the collateral bloodline don't have special abilities. He thought to himself, children are still children. What a ridiculous excuse. They began to stretch their joints. All right, don't be afraid. We're just taking you out here for a chat. Right, we just want to talk to you a little. Crane was the first to say. He cracked his knuckles and added, don't worry. This happens all the time. He smiled mischievously and threw a punch. You heard the teacher. We should communicate and learn from each other. Imperial Essence even looked down on him. My master was treated like that and still endured. It's nothing to cry about. Suddenly, Rayon threw a punch just before Crine could do anything. The two others looked with wide eyes, astonished. Everything seemed to slow down. He slowly leaned backward. Even Imperial Essence was surprised by this. They rushed to Crine, worried, and spoke. Ah, yeah, you're right. Rayon's face became frightening, his hand now showing clearly defined veins. Let's talk with our fists. The other guy rushed forward slowly. And of course, Rayon dodged it as easily as if it were nothing. Then, he delivered a painful thrust to his stomach, almost sending him to meet his maker. The other one, still confused about what his ally was doing, spoke. What are you doing? He scolded. How could you lose like this? But before he finished speaking, Rayon delivered a painful punch to his face. Not stopping there, he gave Crine a kick, making him roll his eyes. Imperial Essence couldn't believe his eyes, his face lighting up. You just landed a punch. This scene truly was a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Rayon continued to punch the other guy. Eventually, only the sound of flesh striking could be heard, though it felt like time had passed for ages. One guy with a bruised face crawled up, groaning. They lay flat on the ground, begging, please, we can't breathe anymore. We were wrong. Stop. Rayon didn't show mercy. Stepping on the guy's hand, a painful groan followed. He bent down, smirking. Before this ends, I have a question for you. Crane. With a pale face, he panicked at the question. Ah, who made you do this? Was it Burden? He told the truth. No, it was us who hit it. He did it. Burden has nothing to do with this. He was somewhat disbelieving, thinking, unexpected. I thought he didn't like me. Maybe he's not as bad as I thought. Then he asked again, you guys aren't going to tell your comrades about this little chat, right? Crine seemed to understand, trembling with fear as he responded. Of course not. Rayon grabbed his hair, his face terrifying as he threatened. Good. If you don't want to talk again tomorrow, stay away from me tomorrow. His eyes showed sheer fear. We won't touch you again. We were wrong. He ordered. Got it. Then get lost. Unexpectedly, Rimmer had been watching everything from behind the tree. He happily thought to himself, truly a beautiful sight. It feels like witnessing a young lord back in the day. The blood of that kid is real, and he has martial talent as well. He muttered, a warm gem among the most talented people. Ah, I really look forward to seeing more of you, little Rayon. Ah, now it was midnight. the moonlight and countless stars shining brightly in the sky. Rayon was in his room. The system appeared before him, having reached the condition of wrath. Very pleased with your reaction. Quick and responsive. 1 point is added. Imperial Essence became furious. Is this how it works? You get points for pleasing Imperial Essence. This system is ridiculous. He calmly replied. You created it. So how could you not know? It moved closer to his face and said, Of course. I've never tried this system with anyone else before. This is because you stole it from Imperial Essence. His reaction was completely indifferent as he slowly stood up. Oh, is that so? Seeing this, it became even more irritated. Ungrateful brat. It glared at him with a low growl in its throat. Then, dissatisfied, it said, I have a suggestion for you. Rayon was confused. A suggestion? Imperial Essence made a strange request. Bet with Imperial Essence. If you win, I will give you a stat point. But if you lose, you will immediately receive my wrath. The system appeared. Wrath. Suggesting a bet with the player. Condition. Pass the test for official students. Place first. If successful, all stats will be increased by 2, and you will receive any attribute. If failed, 10 points of emotional wrath will be created. Rayon asked. You mean placing first in the competition to become an official student, as Rimmer mentioned. It replied. Exactly. He said you would place first. The result was clear as day. Then, he asked, what does any attribute mean? It answered, one of Imperial Essence's attributes will be bestowed upon you. Of course, the level will be lowered to suit an ordinary person like you. He still seemed curious. Then one more question. What does creating M points of emotional wrath if I fail mean? Imperial Essence explained once again. Exactly what it says. You will receive the wrathful emotions that Imperial Essence possesses. It grinned and said, the feeling of wrath that Imperial Essence transfers to you is nothing special. But if you hold on to Imperial Essence's wrath, you will lose the ability to control your emotions. The image of Rayon losing control appeared before him, almost as if he had become someone else. Even if your will is strong, he looked at it, thinking to himself, so that was his plan. He then raised his coffee cup to drink. Looking at the way he acted with integrity, he didn't think he was lying. He even answered very honestly. He thought about this for a long time, like tasting the forbidden fruit. Compared to the reward, the risk of failure is quite small. Maybe this is the poisoned apple I have to eat. For someone as sick as I am, it will be difficult to place first. But I am someone who has been resurrected. Rayon stretched out his hand and said, the conditions aren't bad. All right, I accept. Imperial Essence's eyes lit up when he heard this. Great. A green flame appeared and surrounded his hand. The system announced, you have accepted the bet of wrath. He reminded himself, if I use the experience from my previous life, I will never lose. Outside the city, the sun was beginning to rise, casting warm golden rays. A student lay on the ground, exhausted, sweat dripping down his face. They sat there, sighing tiredly. My legs are about to explode. I can't get up anymore. I've been running all morning. Now I have to do this. Remembering Rimmer's smiling face, assigning tasks to the students. What you're doing now is the horse stance. Even though it's just the horse stance, don't take it lightly. The students were aching all over, and he stood to the side, laughing. This is the basic stance in martial arts. Everyone has to practice it. Hold this stance until the teacher says stop. I'm going to bed now. Then, he added, of course, it's not mandatory. So, let me remind you again. It's your rest, not mine. One side yelled angrily. It's too hard. I'm not doing it anymore. When will we ever learn swordsmanship? Another said helplessly. Forget it. We've only been running and holding the stance so far. Burden walked by and said, then stop complaining. The basic training session is over. Go practice. Because we're only learning basic exercises. Your swordsmanship will be worn down. Imperial Essence watched them leave, feeling a little regretful. They're leaving, it asked. Are you not going to follow them to practice swordsmanship? Rayon replied frankly. I don't need to go. With this lousy skill, practicing swordsmanship would just be a waste of time. He continued with physical training, even though he was tired. What he needed now was not a sword, but foundational strength and stamina. He wanted to balance his ice and fire skills at the moment, because of the ice curse. which made his physical strength much weaker compared to others. For growth and training, the foundation is still the most important. Drops of sweat continuously ran down his chin. He was focused on training, so now he had to focus on strengthening his body more than anything else. Finally, he stood up. At this moment, there was a figure standing outside. It turned out to be Runan. She thought to herself, "That guy is Rayon." Sieghart looked at him, evaluating his rapid progress. The weights he was lifting were heavier than yesterday. She was sure she had heard that he was sick. She stood there, deep in thought, but day by day, the weights he could lift grew heavier. Clearly, only through diligent training could he lift heavier weights than Rayon. At this moment, Rayon was lifting weights, but it was unreasonable to increase so much every day. How could he increase by 10 kilos in just a week? She wondered. Could it be because he's different? How can a sick person persist like this? Finally, Runan decided to step inside, mumbling to herself. "His name is Rayon." Sieghart walked up to Rayon, certain that this guy had something special. He looked up, confused. "Runan Sulien." He asked, "Why are you here?" The two of them stood face to face, staring at each other for a long time. Rayon thought to himself, "What's going on with the development of this kid?" Runan didn't say anything, just staring at Rayon. She slowly moved closer to him, making him feel suspicious. They sat in silence, a bit awkward. Before Rayon could understand what was going on, Runan had already laid back and started lifting weights. He didn't pay attention and stood up, walking away. Who would have thought? Runan turned and followed him. Whatever Rayon practiced, Runan followed suit, observing while practicing. As he was training, Runan couldn't stop exclaiming, just like before. After the refreshing scent from Rayon earlier, after smelling that fragrance, I feel lighter, and thanks to it, I can lift heavier weights than last time. While thinking, Rayon's call brought her back to reality. "Do you have something to say to me?" Not hearing her response, Rayon didn't ask further, but turned back to continue training, still looking confused. Seeing him leave, Runan thought to herself, "Rayon Sieghart, I'll need to follow you a little longer." So, Runan followed like a tail beside Rayon. She practiced whatever he practiced. Not long after, a group of students suddenly entered. Leading the group was Burden, who saw Runan trailing behind Raon, and a student following Burden angrily said, "Valken is following that guy again. What's so great about him hanging out with someone who's been kicked out of the main line like him?" At this moment, Burden spoke up, holding a wooden stick, grunting, "Useless." Repeating simple health exercises. It's useless, basically. Rayon lacks strength, so he needs those simple exercises. But no matter how hard he tries, he'll never match up to us. I don't know what the test content is, but at least it's preparation for that day. If it's just for developing his own martial arts, then it's quite fine to keep practicing swordsmanship. Saying this, he turned to speak to the other students and then walked off. "Let's go. Don't pay attention to that flash-in-the-pan guy. The result will speak for itself on test day." Later, as Rayon was training, a green-haired student approached and cautiously greeted. Sir Raon." "Hello, I'm Dorian. May I train with you?" Dorian scratched his head shyly, introducing himself. He was excited and wanted to ask Raon for guidance. "I want to learn the proper training posture." Rayon glanced at him and replied, "Well, I don't really pay attention to that. Thanks, even if it's not much." After speaking, Dorian put his hand in his pocket and searched for something. He took out a cookie and offered it to Rayone. "But eat this. It's delicious." "I'm fine, so take it." Rayon was about to refuse when he noticed something. Glancing at Runan, before him was a face full of longing, wanting the cookie from her. It seemed like she really wanted that cookie, her face shining with anticipation. Rayon was a bit speechless and handed the cookie to Runan. He sighed, feeling exasperated. Now there's another stranger around. So, after that, Dorian began training with the help and guidance of both Rayon and Runan. Time passed quickly, and the three of them, Raon, Runan, and Dorian, continued their diligent training. It has been 6 months since the training started. While training, Rayon thought every day about pushing life to the boundary between life and death. The backs of the obstacles in his early training days were no longer visible. He exhaled deeply through his trachea, focusing only on the people in front of him. There were only 2 people in front of him. And then time finally passed. The morning of the test day arrived. Outside the arena, many people had gathered to cheer on the trainees. Suddenly, a voice echoed, "Thank you all for coming. These are the guardians of the candidates participating this time. Please follow the indicated path and move in order from here." Rayon was talking to Imperial Essence. He reminded Rayon Sieghart, "Do you remember the bet with Imperial Essence?" Imperial Essence smiled slyly. "In the end, you still can't surpass those 2. So get ready to accept the Imperial Essence's fury." Rayon waved his hand to deny. "Well, all the tests are different, so we can't predict anything." He suddenly turned to Dorian, looking speechless. More importantly, "Dorian, what are you doing down there?" At this moment, Dorian was bent over on the ground, trembling with fear, saying, "No, it's just that I'm a little too nervous, because today is the test day. As long as I breathe out, even I, the weakest, can do it." Runan stood next to him and called out to Rayon, "I said, I'm giving you this cookie. I brought this cookie. Eat it." Rayon raised his hand to stop. "No, Oh," finishing his sentence. He looked up and saw Burden glaring at him with a murderous gaze. Rayon felt helpless with the people around him. Why do I have people like them near me? At this moment, in the stands, Sylvia happily said, "Helen, look over there." Rayon is confidently standing there. Helen nodded happily. Of course, he's endured tough training for 6 months. Seeing Rayon talking to 2 other trainees, Sylvia seemed reassured. It seems like Rayon has friends now, doesn't it? With his personality, it's only natural. Cao Chu Raon has never complained. He's young and understands well, making friends and all that. I'm so proud of him. Sylvia smiled happily. Suddenly, the surroundings became silent, all eyes turning toward one direction. A man slowly entered, and the crowd was astonished, whispering, "The clan leader is entering. The clan leader is here in person." "Ah!" The one entering is clan leader Glenn Sieghart. Wasn't he supposed to never come to see this in person before? Rimmer was also surprised and asked, "Wow, why is the clan leader here?" Glenn was puzzled by the exaggerated reaction of everyone. "This is an event that will shape the future of your clan. The reaction is as if I'm not supposed to be here." Rimmer awkwardly laughed and responded, "Haha, of course not. Welcome, sir." Then he announced, "Well, since the clan leader is here, we won't waste any more time. We will immediately begin the selection test for the official trainees. So, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone, the criteria that everyone at Sieghart is quite curious about will now be revealed through my pressure. This is the test for today." As soon as he finished speaking, Rimmer began exerting his pressure in all directions. Rimmer explained the test for today. Pressure is simply something inseparable from the life of a warrior. This test will assess the level of a warrior's abilities. Suddenly, a voice opposed. "Wait a minute. I object. The kids just learned aura not long ago. Why is there a pressure test so soon?" Then, many others spoke up in agreement. In reality, there are still kids who haven't learned aura yet. A pressure test is just too unfair. Not to mention some of the kids saying that all they've been doing in class is sleeping. What is this test? Rimmer sighed and explained. Pressure is not just about using mana. No. True pressure is the level of spiritual energy that a warrior has built up through their achievements. It is proof of a warrior and can demonstrate their level without needing aura. Some still didn't believe it and tried to argue. "What are you talking about?" But before he could finish, a voice rang out. "He's not wrong. That guy," seeing the Lord talking to him, Glenn continued, "My lord." Glenn said, "A person can truly understand pressure through the way they have lived and trained." Hearing this, Rimmer seemed satisfied. Smiling, he continued speaking. "Even a person who does not possess aura can have immense pressure, depending on the difficulty and persistence they have put into their training." Rimmer smiled happily, praising, "Truly, Lord Glenn, you really understand everything." He turned to speak to everyone. "So that's it. I'm sure no one here has any objections to the test. Right. Let's ignore the troublemakers and start the test now." Hearing his name, Runan stepped forward. "Runan, please step forward." The others moved to the back. "Now, Runan, the pressure I am about to release will be at a level that you will be able to overcome if you've given your all during training. If you can withstand the pressure and touch me, you'll pass." Upon finishing, Rimmer grinned and slowly released the pressure onto Runan. "The test will begin now." Immediately, a powerful feeling attacked Runan, causing her to cry out. Rimmer continued explaining the test. "You will fail immediately if you use aura to resist this pressure. I want you to overcome this test with the willpower you've built up during your training so far." Runan gritted her teeth, using all her strength, moving forward. And then she managed to grab Rimmer's arm. He patted Runan's head, smiling and complimenting her. "That was easy. I can see the fruits of your hard work. I want you to keep moving forward with that will." Next up is Dorian. Dorian, startled when his name was called, trembled and gasped. "Who? What's my ranking?" Like this. Rimmer, with a nonchalant tone, said, "I'll rank however I want. So get up and come here." Dorian, with no other choice, slowly stepped forward. "You saw what Runan did before you, didn't you? I want you to use the willpower you've built up during training to overcome the pressure wall I've created." Dorian worriedly asked, "Do you really think I can do it? I'm quite notorious for not having any willpower." Rimmer then released his pressure. "Well, if you don't have any, then I'll simply fail you. It's that simple." Dorian was quickly overwhelmed by the pressure. He clenched his teeth, trying not to fall. Standing outside, Rayon was somewhat surprised, analyzing that the level of pressure Rimmer released would be adjusted according to the individuals. He was adjusting the pressure based on the kids' levels and how much they had trained. So he really has been observing each of them carefully. At this moment, Dorian managed to overcome the pressure and touched Rimmer. Rimmer smiled and said, "See, all you had to do was come here, and you passed." Dorian, however, you still lack confidence in your skills. I suggest you raise your head and face forward from now on. Seeing Flan, scared, directly throw up, Rimmer then called the next person. "Well, I think you've heard enough. All right, next person." Time passed quickly, and it was almost the last ones. Next, Burden Regard saw it was his turn. Burden, clearly ready, replied, "Yes." Seeing that he seemed prepared, Rimmer said, "Let's start right away. Come on." As with the others, Rimmer released his pressure onto Burden, feeling the pressure constantly pushing him back. Burden gritted his teeth, thinking, "He wants me to get to him while enduring this. This is completely different from what I saw outside. How did Runan manage to get through this?" His whole body shook under the pressure, unable to move forward, unable to take another step. At this moment, Burden collapsed. Seeing this, Rimmer also spoke up. "Surely you have talent far surpassing others. The number of people who can compete with you among the 160 students here can only be counted on one hand. However, just like the other students, you have wasted your time. What's the point of honing your swordsmanship if you lack a goal? What you should be doing is not training your sword skills, but strengthening your body and willpower. You always rely on aura when things get difficult. If you use it now, you'll fail immediately." Rimmer's words woke Burden up. "I can't fail here. I will never forget that time when my father refused to let my brother inside. I can never forget his cold, sharp gaze. If I can't overcome this, I will be discarded as well," he thought. With that, he made up his mind, pushed himself to the limit, stood up, and moved toward Rimmer. Rimmer nodded in satisfaction. "You passed." He then kindly reminded Burden, "You're still just a 12-year-old kid. I want you to stop pretending to be an adult and train at a pace suitable for your age. If the only thing you do is look ahead, you won't notice the thorns piercing through your feet." Rimmer paused and turned to Rayon. "Now, finally, Rayon." Sieghart Rayon calmly and gently stepped forward. "Yes, I'm the last one. Are you ready?" Rayon firmly responded. "Of course." "As usual," Rimmer said. "Then let's begin." As soon as he finished speaking, the pressure began to emanate. But this time, it was different from before. Rimmer continued to release the pressure, making it stronger with each passing moment. Seeing Rayon enduring the immense pressure, Sylvia became anxious and shouted, "Rayon!" Glenn was also astonished by the pressure being released. What kind of crazy pressure is this? At this moment, despite the intense pressure, Rayon remained calm and stood still as if nothing was happening. He spoke up. "Is this really my test?" "Rimmer, excited and full of interest, said, "I don't know, but the talent I see in you is certainly beyond Runan and Burden. Try enduring this." Upon finishing, Rimmer released even more pressure, stronger than before. Now, Rayon began to feel the difficulty. Spiritual level isn't something contained in the body. It's within the realm of the soul. And right now, I don't just have Round Sieghart's spiritual level. I also have the level from my past life as an assassin, he thought. Then, he stepped forward. Seeing this, Rimmer was slightly surprised. With this, can you really overcome this much pressure? Glenn's face was filled with shock, unable to grasp the reality. How could you? This is absolutely unreasonable. At this moment, it was something that seemed to go beyond even the bounds of impossibility. Before Rimmer could finish his thoughts, Rayon had already touched him. He looked at the situation before him. Everyone was staring in astonishment. Rayon then asked, "Has the test ended?" The students standing around were in disbelief, unable to accept the result. Did he really break through that pressure? No way. Did he really pass it? That kid, a disaster, has no aura. How could he do it? Rimmer also couldn't believe it and asked, "What are you?" Rayon replied, "You've been observing. I trained for 6 months. And I'm Rayon. You asked, because I did better than what you taught me in the past 6 months. You created pressure that exceeded my abilities. You deliberately caused trouble, but didn't expect I could break through it." Rayon then made a gesture as if to explain. At first, Rimmer didn't understand, his face full of questions. But then he suddenly realized the meaning of Rayon's action. "I see," he said, laughing. "Haha, seems like the Grandmaster distracted me." Rayon Sieghart was the final contestant. The official student selection ceremony had ended. "I will announce the top students that you are all curious about." Rimmer's words caused everyone present to tense up. The top student of the training school is Rayon Sieghart. In the stands, Sylvia and Helen burst with emotion upon hearing this. "Our Rayon came first. Miss Sylvia. Rayon did it." The people around them continued discussing the result. "I can't believe it. Rayon Regard is the top student. If he broke through that pressure, then it must be. But how did he manage to do it?" Burden. Suddenly, Burden shouted loudly in protest. "I don't accept this. This isn't right." "Rimmer is lying," Rimmer asked. Confused. "Lying about what?" "Regarding endurance, strength, and talent. Rayon is inferior to me. I don't accept that someone like him came first. He's clearly cheating." Clearly cheating. Burden's words caused those around him to start doubting the result. The crowd started to discuss loudly. "Does this sound reasonable? How could he still be at the top after being cursed? I heard he doesn't even have aura. Could it be that he bribed the teacher? If we follow the rumors about Rimmer, it seems like that's possible." Burden. Continuing. "We are all warriors of the Sieghart clan. Instead of just one test, don't you think we should have a duel to decide who deserves the top student position?" Upon hearing this, Rimmer smiled and looked at him. He asked, "Do you really want the top student position that badly?" Burden Regard. "Oh, no, that's not it." The question made Burden blush, awkwardly denying. "Oh, no, that's not it." Rimmer looked up and asked, "Glenn, unfortunately, the test is already over. Clan leader, what do you think we should do?" The clan leader thought for a moment, and then spoke to Rayon Regarda. Others seemed to be dissatisfied with the result. "Would you like to duel with Burden?" Upon hearing the clan leader's question, Burden smugly looked at Rayon. But unexpectedly, Rayon straightforwardly said, "No," to the astonishment of everyone around. "The test is over, and the results are in. Why should I duel with him with no benefit?" Then, Rayon turned to Burden and said, "You keep talking about honor. Burden, I don't think you would allow yourself to lose so miserably." His words made Burden furious. "You damn bastard." The clan leader spoke up. "Then let's do it. Let's duel for the top student position. If you win, I will give you a bronze card." Greer de Owen was astonished by this condition, thinking to himself, "The bronze card from the Sieghart clan will be awarded, and the gold and silver cards from the East. Depending on each person's achievement, each card corresponds to a different reward. Even the bronze card, if given directly by the clan leader, will likely come with something worthwhile. It seems like he's not too pleased with my first place result." With this thought, Rayon responded, "I understand. Let's begin then." This time we'll decide who the most skilled student is. This is a one-on-one match. 1 round. No aura or weapons allowed. Only physical skills. After hearing the rules, Rayon and Burden stepped forward, ready to fight. All right, let's begin. As soon as Rimmer finished his words, Burden rushed straight to attack Rayon with lightning speed. But Rayon quickly dodged. Then, Burden relentlessly unleashed a series of attacks on Rayon. At this moment, Rayon continued to evade each of his strikes. This is the crippled tiger fist my father personally taught me. There's no rule against using martial arts, so this isn't against the rules. Seeing Rayon being overwhelmed by Burden, the students kept praising, "Indeed, young Master Burden is impressive. That kid Rayon can't even move now." While fighting, Burden thought, "A weaker person than me, from a secondary branch, dares to target my top student position." At this moment, Burden suddenly recalled a time before. Forget it. The Burden of the Sieghart clan doesn't need weaklings. Don't disappoint me. Burden Sieghart. Father is watching me. I have to prove myself. I cannot lose to someone like you here. Despite Burden's continuous attacks, Rayon could easily dodge them. I can see everything clearly. From the punches to the rhythm of his attacks, every strike is crystal clear in my mind. At this moment, Burden shouted at Rayon, "Have you given up yet?" Rayon Sieghart. "I'll finish you off with this move." Rayon calmly responded, "Why should I give up?" Then, he clenched his fist and threw a punch at Burden. The two punches collided, but it seemed that Rayon was stronger. Burden directly took the punch, getting knocked back. He panicked and shouted, "What's happening here?" This sight left everyone around them stunned. "No way! That's the crippled tiger fist. How did he?" After taking the punch, Burden collapsed onto the arena floor, gasping, unable to believe it. "Ask Rayon, how do you know crippled tiger fist?" Rayon calmly replied, "You taught me. I just copied your martial arts." In the stands, the crowd continued to murmur. "He just used crippled tiger fist. This is insane. How could he use it? Did he secretly learn it? If not, how could he? This is impossible." Witnessing Burden's defeat at the hands of Rayon, Rimmer was also quite surprised. This kid really has talent. He was able to neutralize the twisting move of crippled tiger fist by creating a martial technique with an opposite spiral. Just being able to read the opponent's martial flow is enough to call someone a genius. But he managed to turn that direction into a skill of his own. This is the kind of talent that can stand at the pinnacle of this continent. This is what the Sieghart family is looking for, a destined talent. Finishing his thoughts, Rimmer spoke up to announce the result. "I think this match is over. As everyone can see, the result is quite clear. The winner is Rayon Sieghart. With this, the test today has come to an end." At this moment, Sylvia ran down from the stands. She quickly ran to Rayon. She joyfully hugged Raoni, gently patting his head. Both Sylvia and Helen were overwhelmed with joy at Rayon's victory, happily looking at him. "The essence of the Emperor flies with him," she said. "I'm hungry. Let's go home." Over by Runan's side, the same thing happened. Runan's father, overcome with happiness, hugged him and cried uncontrollably. As for Burden, he was escorted outside by a butler. Suddenly, Burden saw something that made him both worried and sad. In the crowd, he saw his father looking at him. But then his father turned and walked away. This left him feeling empty. That night at the Burden estate, his father called him into the study to talk. He turned his back on Burden, coldly saying, "Burden." You quickly replied, "Yes, father." "Do you remember what I told you? I told you to come back with the title of top rookie, and to never lose to anyone." "Yes, that's not too much to ask. I told you to defeat the Sullian Wench family, and after stepping on Rayon, come back with the title of class leader. Forget about the Wench family. Have you lost to that trash who's been cast out from their clan? Are you trying to make a fool of me?" Burden's father kept scolding him. He asked, "Burden, do you want your fate to end up like your two brothers?" Burden panicked and said, "No, father, you've ruined your first opportunity. They will choose the class leader after they grade the students at the end of graduation day. Make sure you bring that position back to me." With that, he dismissed Burden from the room. "Go!" Burden bowed his head, sadly saying, "Yes." As he left, Burden thought about his father's words. If you still want to live under the Raya family of Sieghart, Don't fail this last chance. Furious, he punched the wall. Damn it. It's all that cursed bastard's fault. I can't believe all this is happening because of that trash rayon. Damn it. How did things end up like this? I'm sure I'll train harder to never lose again. Suddenly, Burden stopped. In front of him was the training room. Why did I come here? I came here unconsciously while thinking. Why? He pushed open the door and entered. He looked around the training room, but no one was there. Is it because the test just ended? Burden was about to start training, but then he noticed the locker area. He saw the locker with Rayon's name on it. Curious, he walked over and opened that locker. A quick peek should be fine. Right. It's not like I'm stealing anything. I'm just looking. What he saw in front of him made Burden momentarily stunned. What is this? What's with all these shoes? Just counting them quickly, he saw there were more than 10 pairs here. He went through all these in just 6 months. I've only had to change shoes twice. Burden was astonished by the number of shoes Rayon had. Then, he thought back to himself. But it seems like he already has the answer. That's right. Come to think of it, he's always training, while I've been neglecting the basics and just waving my sword around to show off to others. Or when I'm relaxing in my room, while he embodies the best of the Sieghart lineage. I've been doing the exact opposite. Burden felt ashamed as he reflected. He looked around the training room for a moment, then put Rayon's shoes back in place and left. It seemed like he had silently made a decision in his mind. Scene changes to Rayon's location. At this moment, Imperial Essence was constantly exclaiming, "Oh my, I can't believe it. Imperial Essence, have lived for hundreds of years and never met anyone like you. What are you? Who knows? You can think however you want. But first, tell me what this ability is." Rayon spoke while opening his status board. Looking, you have won with Wrath. The reward will be given to the winner. All skill points increase by 2. You, possessed by Wrath, will receive 1 random ability, the Intuition of Snowflakes. 1 star has been created. Upon seeing the skill Rayon received, Imperial Essence muttered, "Intuition of Snowflakes. You received a skill much too good for your mediocrity. This ability increases the range of a person's awareness, and it's just 1 star now. It can still increase by about 10 more. Imperial Essence continued, "I have an awareness 10 times greater than before." Hearing this, Rayon was astonished. Really? That's great. But he wondered, then why is it called Intuition of Snowflakes? Isn't that a bit strange for a name? Rayon showed a dismissive look, thinking, how bad are you at naming things? Huh, you, of all people, said that. The next morning, the butler suddenly came to Rayon. "The clan leader is calling you, young master." Sylvia was panicked. "Grandfather, are we having training today? Did Rayon do something wrong?" The butler laughed, reassuring. "Haha, don't worry, young miss." He spoke up to explain. "The clan leader simply wants to personally give you the bronze token." Soon after, Rayon appeared in front of the clan leader. He knelt and paid his respects. Greeting the clan leader, Green spoke. "Although I don't like it, I will keep my promise." "Yes, clan leader." The butler heard the order and immediately handed the bronze token to Rayon. "As promised, you will be given a bronze token. In the future, when you return it, you will receive an item or favor in return." Rayon looked at the bronze token. Contemplating, he suddenly made a request right then. "Then I have a request right now. Sylvia Sieghart, what must I do to restore the status my mother once had?" Rayon asked. Your words surprised Glenn a bit. He said, "By your original status, I suppose you mean the position of that girl in the direct line of descent." Yes, that's correct," Rayon replied, thinking to himself. It seems he suddenly softened. "What's going on?" The clan leader then provided an answer. "Achievement. If you achieve something that the entire clan recognizes, it is possible, but it's not that simple. Gaining the recognition of others is as difficult as plucking stars from the sky. So, it's almost impossible, especially for a kid like you." Upon hearing the answer, Rayon smiled and said, "But you said it's possible." "Right." He then placed the bronze token back where it was, to the astonishment of the butler. "That's it. Thank you for your answer, clan leader." Then he turned to leave. But Rayon had only taken a few steps when the clan leader stopped him. "Wait," Glenn said. You still haven't asked about your reward. It's just a question. No need for the token. I can still give you an answer. Rayon was a little skeptical. Life. Huh. I didn't expect to hear this from the King of Destruction of the North. Your wish. Then, Rayon clenched his fists, making up his mind. Then, there is something I've thought about. Something I need the most. After thinking for a moment, he made his request. I want a cultivation technique. That, the trainers will teach you when you start basic training. Rayon replied. I need a cultivation technique for spiritual energy better than the one taught in basic training. Please grant me a technique that matches the bronze token. My cultivation technique from my past life was not enough to restore Sylvia's position and behead Darius. I need a stronger aura technique than that. Glenn asked again. So what you want is a cultivation technique? Right. Then he snapped his fingers, understanding something. One side near Rayon opened up, and from there, bookshelves appeared, surrounding him. Looking at what was in front of him, Rayon was stunned. This is one of the bookshelves of the Sieghart family. If you place your hand in the center, the book you need will appear immediately. Ah, I understand now. He then placed his hand in the center. Just something better than the spiritual energy cultivation technique from my past life. I hope something useful will appear. From the bookshelf, a book flew out and came to him. This old, worn book. What is this? Upon seeing the book Rayon was holding, both Green and the butler stared in shock. What is this? How did you get that book? 10,000 Flames Cultivation Technique, Tuluyan. Rayon was confused too. Open the book. What kind of technique is this? But as soon as he touched the book, a strange light emitted from it. Huh! The pages in the book started flying out, surrounding Rayon. Surprised, absorbing what was in the book. The current situation suddenly made Glenn recall the past. Do you think Sylvia was abandoned by the people in the family? It's not something we need to know. The prosperity of the family is the top priority right now. Go do something else. Sylvia got close to another man and left home. Don't report such trivial things to me. After days of thinking only about the family and pushing aside emotions, I've built an army that can surpass the demon wall. My family is growing stronger. So what have I lost? Sir? There's news. Your son-in-law and granddaughter have been attacked. The attackers seem to be twin demons from Eden, which Sylvia had investigated. She seems to be fine. But the two others died on the spot. The report, due to the sudden attack, could not reach the clan leader. Such a pity. Finally, I've regained my emotions. But everything can't go back to how it was. So, Rayon, even if you and Sylvia hate me, this time, I must protect you. Back to the present. Rayon was continuously surprised, thinking about what had just happened. What's going on? My body and mind keep being pushed by this. Suddenly, the voice of the clan leader interrupted his thoughts. Rayon Sieghart, what did you just do? Rayon was just as confused and replied, I don't know. I only remember the cultivation book disappearing from my hands. What was the name of the book? It's 10,000 Flames Cultivation Technique, Tuluyan. 10,000 Flames Cultivation Technique, Tuluyan. You must face the eternal flame. Have you memorized everything in 10,000 Flames Cultivation Technique? Glenn Sieghart suddenly stood up in surprise and asked, You're saying you remember the contents? In response, a firm answer came from Rayon. Yes, I do. Hearing this, he nodded slightly, saying, I understand. That's enough. His authoritative voice continued. You've received the reward for the bronze token. Now, go. This left Rayon a little confused, but he remained calm and replied, Yes, sir. He then took the bronze token and left. Under the watchful eyes of Glenn Sieghart and Butler Lowen, the two of them watched Rayon until his figure disappeared behind the door. Immediately after, Lowen spoke, voicing his guess. Could the cultivation technique that young Master Rayon received be? The response came in a firm tone from the other. Yes. Glenn Sieghart closed his eyes and gently leaned back in the chair behind him, speaking darkly. It's the clan leader's technique. At first, he revealed his amazement. In the history of the Sieghart family, no one has ever been able to take out or read that cultivation technique. I didn't expect the boy to learn 10,000 Flames cultivation technique. Hearing this, the butler expressed his concern. If this gets out, young Master Rayon and Miss Sylvia could be in danger. Glenn, of course. had already thought of this possibility. He smiled confidently and said, "Don't worry. No one knows about 10,000 Flames cultivation technique." On Rayon's side, as he walked out the door, suddenly, a book inside the study room disappeared. This made Lowen suspicious and exclaim, "The cultivation book is gone. What should we do now?" Glenn calmly explained, "It's fine. It's been passed on to someone else." Standing in front of hundreds of cultivation books, he spoke in a quiet tone. "Anyway, no one could ever learn 10,000 Flames cultivation technique. If I didn't pass it on to the boy, it would have just faded away." A trace of hope appeared on his face. "I have a feeling I can see Raon training at the same time." Glenn's authoritative voice echoed softly. "There will be a new wind in the future." Rayon sat on the bed in a training posture, continuously thinking, "This is really strange. Why did he give me this? Not to mention the silver token. Not even the golden token could exchange for this cultivation technique." He closed his eyes and began to enter a training state again. "This is no less than fire magic. I need to study it seriously." In the spiritual space, Rayon slowly moved closer to the flame. He began to reach out his hand, ready to touch it. But just as he was about to succeed, the flame suddenly quickly disappeared. This made Rayon frown in disappointment. He sighed and thought, "I failed again." Rayon gloomily stared at his hand. "Even though I've tried many times, it's so hard to accumulate spiritual energy. I didn't expect I could learn such a high-level cultivation technique in one go." But suddenly, Imperial Essence spoke up, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "It seems like you're having a hard time." "Huh?" he continued. "Give it your all. You must be careful. If you're cultivating and someone else interferes, it could be a big problem. Just touching the technique, and already crippled. That would be pitiful." Hearing this, Rayon couldn't help but frown, casting a glare at the unpleasant man. What is he scheming? Imperial Essence was right. Rayon couldn't help but imagine being interrupted. The power in his mind kept thinking, 10,000 Flames cultivation technique absorbs the energy of nature and accumulates spiritual energy in the energy core. If I get interrupted at a critical moment, the blood vessels or energy field could break, and I would become crippled. It's even more dangerous for me, because my blood vessels contain ice energy. After thinking this through, he spoke to Imperial Essence. "Yeah, if you already know, then don't interfere." But he just smiled mockingly. "I wonder what will happen." Rayon furrowed his brows, showing that he didn't understand his words. Suddenly, he opened his mouth. "Wait, don't tell me!" Just as Rayon predicted, Imperial Essence laughed mockingly, his voice dripping with danger. "Just once. Let Imperial Essence interrupt your cultivation once." Rayon was speechless at his demonic reputation. "You must not be enjoying using a crippled body." "Right." But he just casually replied, "It's fine." He continued, "You're human, so you won't be able to surpass it. However, even if your limbs are severed or your energy core explodes, Imperial Essence can still restore everything." He even leaned close to Rayon's ear and whispered, "When you're crippled and give up everything, that's my best opportunity." Hearing his sly words, Rayon simply smirked. "I understand now. You're saying just once." "Right. I'm really looking forward to seeing what trick you'll pull this time." Hearing Imperial Essence's challenge, he grew even more self-satisfied, snorting, "You're boasting again. Tremble every day, because you don't know when Imperial Essence will strike." Looking at his smug face, Rayon couldn't help but assess, "This guy is truly an enemy." He continued thinking, "He's a demon from the demon world, always ready to possess my body whenever he gets the chance. And he is the embodiment of rage." He sighed tiredly. "I thought he had given up on the idea. But now, I have to be on guard again." He spoke. "All right, we'll deal with that later. I need to handle something more urgent first," Imperial Essence asked. "Finally, are you planning to deal with her?" Rayon replied, "Yeah, it can't be a coincidence. She comes here every night." Both of them walked to the window and looked down below. Rayon coldly said, "I have to deal with her." He thought to himself, "It's been a while since I've done my old job." Outside the building, by the riverbank, a woman in maid clothing was quietly doing something. The maid of the Judial building was focused on writing a secret report on a piece of paper, murmuring, "I have nothing to report," except when he mutters to himself, "But this time, I really have something to report." Remembering what happened a few hours ago, She couldn't help but be astonished. I didn't expect he could receive such a high-level cultivation technique just with that bronze token. Judiel remembered watching him train, and the flow of mana was extremely intense as he cultivated spiritual energy. It was unbelievable. Her hand kept writing, "This is important information for Central Martial Palace." After finishing, she carefully folded the paper and thought, "Since it's an order, I had to do it. But he's just a child. I wonder how much longer I can deceive him." Then, she gently dropped the secret letter into the water and sat, watching it flow away. Once she saw the letter drift a certain distance, Judiel sighed softly. Just as she muttered, "Time to go back," a knife was suddenly pressed against her neck, accompanied by a dangerous warning. "If you dare speak, I'll kill you." The owner of the knife continued to threaten. "If you move, you'll die." His cold voice ordered Judiel to lower her gaze and look down at the lake. Faced with this imminent danger, Judiel had no choice but to comply. Her mind was racing. Who is he? She slowly lowered her gaze, beads of sweat starting to form. Who could exude such a murderous aura? The moment she recognized the familiar face reflected on the water's surface, Judiel was visibly shocked. Rayon muttered, "What? This brat managed to follow me." As if he read her thoughts, Rayon calmly explained, "Ever since I returned to this annex building, I've already sensed your prying eyes. So, what have you managed to gather?" This made Judiel even more alarmed. No way! He knew everything already. She recalled the days she silently observed her target despite being cautious. She had been discovered long ago. Judiel was bewildered. "I thought I didn't leave a single trace." So he was just pretending not to notice. Why? Suddenly, Rayon ordered her to open her mouth. Judiel, trembling, had no choice but to comply. At that moment, Rayon shoved something into her mouth, forced to swallow the strange item. She gagged and felt nauseous. She groaned uncontrollably, eventually collapsing to her knees and dry heaving. Though she tried to spit the strange object out, it was no use. Rayon calmly picked up the note that hadn't drifted too far. He opened the secret message, only to find the text had completely vanished. He turned to the one who had written it and asked, "I can't read the contents of this letter. This type of paper must require a special method to reveal it, doesn't it?" Rayon asked coldly. "One word at a time. Water, earth, fire, sunlight." As soon as Rayon said moonlight, Judiel's expression changed panic she could not hide. She stammered, "What? How do you know that?" Rayon responded by slowly reciting the message. Aries Sieghart. Karon Sieghart. Daniel. Upon reaching that part, he concluded, so it was Karun Sieghart's order, which shocked Judiel even more. Seeing Rayon's expressionless face, Judiel panicked, thinking, "No, impossible. My expression was flawless. I trained for years to be a top-level spy. He couldn't possibly have figured all that out just by watching me." Suddenly, she remembered the item Rayon had just forced into her mouth. Wait, no. The searing pain in her body. The fact that he could so easily read her thoughts. The more she thought about it, the more she trembled. There's only one explanation for this. That thing he shoved down her throat. The image of a deadly insect flashed in her mind, and Judiel collapsed in horror. Could it be a mad parasite? A flashback of a conversation between Judiel and Karun Sieghart appeared. He had ordered her to infiltrate the annex and report all information on Rayon and Sylvia. He had emphasized, "If you succeed in this mission, I'll bring that person back to reality." The maid, Judiel, now trembling with fear, knelt and asked Rayon, "Did you feed me a mad parasite?" Upon hearing this, Rayon was briefly surprised and retorted, "You even know about the mad parasite." Then, with a tone of amusement, he said, "I'm impressed you know about the mad parasite." As soon as she received that confirmation, a wave of nausea surged within Judiel, and she immediately leaned back, clutching her chest in pain. She realized that once the parasite was inside a target's body, the poisoner could not only track their location, but also read their thoughts. The mad parasite was one of the most terrifying curses in existence. The poisoner could kill the target anytime they wanted with excruciating pain. There was no mistaking that expression. It was indeed the mad parasite. Rayon, unfazed by her pain and fear, coldly said, "You sent this letter to Karun Sieghart, which means you must be the spy sent by Martial Heart Temple." And this mission probably started 7 months ago, after the judgment ceremony. You did your research, didn't you? He held the letter and smirked, saying, not just me, but my mother Helen, and all the other maids too. The color drained further from Judiel's face. I thought this was a simple mission. In her mind, Karun's orders echoed. Just collect information on the boy Rayon and the crippled Sylvia. I thought I could complete the mission easily. But there's a monster living in this annex. Threatened by the aura of the one she now saw as a monster, Judiel desperately pleaded. I'll change the report. I'll send false information instead. But Rayon coldly dismissed her plea. Forget it. Even if you alter the intel, Karun will still find out about me eventually. He added another remark, as if trampling on her pride. It only made him realize your incompetence. Suddenly, Rayon leaned his face close to Judiel, his glowing red eyes wide open, full of killing intent, but also mocking the trembling prey. Then he ordered, from now on, you will be a double agent. He continued, you will report to him any information he is likely to discover soon. Hide the critical details, and tell no one. In return, you must bring me valuable intelligence from his side. Upon hearing this, Judiel could only tremble and comply. All right, I will do as you say. Receiving this answer, Rayon nodded in satisfaction. Finally, he stood up and walked away. Before leaving, he even smiled and said goodbye. Until next time. His voice echoed through the room, loud enough for Judiel, still mentally shaken, to hear, I hope to receive some useful information. On the way back to the bedroom, Imperial Essence curiously asked, how were you able to summon the mad worm? Rayon calmly replied, I wouldn't bother with something that disgusting. I gave her a poison pill that caused her temporary intense pain. Imperial Essence grew even more surprised. Wait, so you were able to read her thoughts earlier? Rayon nonchalantly explained to him, you can infer things about someone from a few other factors. Others can't see it. But I can. Imperial Essence was stunned by Rayon's reply. He murmured, now this is the real devil. A few days later, while Rayon remained engrossed in training, the day to return to the training school finally came. During that time, even though he tried relentlessly, Rayon still hadn't managed to produce an aura by the day of departure. At the training school, lively chatter filled the air. The atmosphere was especially bustling. Rayon calmly observed his surroundings. Out of the original group, only 42 had passed, about 1/4 of the initial number. He recalled the vibrant face of that teacher, Rimmer. He was truly strict when it came to results. Suddenly, a voice called out. Rayon turned and saw it was Runan. Runan slowly approached him. Then she stood directly in front of Raon, which made him slightly confused and furrow his brow. Runan just stared at him like that, as if she wanted to say something. A small memory surfaced in her mind. So, young Master Rayon helped our daughter train. Huh, that was a memory from a few days earlier, at the Sullian family residence. At that time, she was focused on eating dessert when her mother asked her that, so she simply answered, yes. Her mother then asked, did you greet and thank him? Runan replied, I did when he gave me snacks. Her mother asked again, what about when he helped you train? Hearing that, Runan paused thoughtfully for a moment and innocently said, no. This made her mother a bit curious. Why not? Runan obediently answered, Dad told me not to start conversations with boys. Her mother's expression instantly darkened. Ah, I see. Then she sternly corrected her daughter's manners. Runan, when showing gratitude, gender is not what matters. She continued, if someone has helped you, you must always respect and thank them. That's just basic courtesy. Hearing this, Runan's face turned unusually pink. Her mother reminded her again, remember, don't forget that. Back in the present, Runan mustered up the courage and said to Rayon, thank you, which made him strangely flustered. Imperial Essence was equally puzzled. He asked, why did she suddenly thank you like that? But even Raon didn't know, and replied awkwardly, I don't know. How would I know? After successfully saying thanks, Runan proudly rewarded herself with a mental like. At that moment, a cheerful voice rang out. Young Master Rayon. Dorian came running, breathless but still talking. Young Master, how have you been? As for me, I thought I was going to die. Even as a temporary trainee, I already felt like death was near. Right after the first sentence, he launched into a long rant, So now that I've officially become a full trainee, I can't even imagine how much harder it's going to be. I keep having nightmares. Last night I tossed and turned. Couldn't sleep at all. Just afraid I won't make it. By the way, honestly, prompting Imperial Essence to put on a judging face. You talk way too much. Dorian kept talking nonstop. But I was very happy that young Master Rayon turned out to be the top student. If young Master Burden had been the top student, then Before he could finish his sentence, Burden suddenly appeared right behind Dorian with a face like he'd just been doused with a bucket of cold water, causing Dorian to scream in shock. Dorian was so scared he dropped to the ground, ready to endure Burden's wrath. But Burden didn't seem to pay much attention to him, and instead slowly walked up to stand in front of Rayon, his expression as cold as before. The two stood facing each other silently for a while, neither speaking first. Suddenly, Burden bent into a perfectly formal bow and said, "I apologize. I acknowledge my defeat. Last week, I let everyone see my disgraceful side." He continued, "However, I will not give up." His eyes grew incredibly determined. "No matter what it takes, I will stand before you with pride." Then he turned around and walked away. "My vow still stands. I will neither retreat nor give up." Imperial Essence and Rayon watched Burden walk away, their expressions complex. Rayon murmured, "I didn't expect a 13-year-old to be able to admit his mistakes. Must be the influence of a prestigious family." But Imperial Essence still hadn't gotten over what happened before. He looked extremely annoyed. He already got beaten once, and still doesn't know his place. "Let's go gouge his eyes out." Rayon sighed at that, and tried to calm him down. "That's good enough already. Just take it easy." The demon didn't seem satisfied and shouted, "Who cares about that?" At that moment, Rimmer's voice rang out. "Sorry I'm late." He laughed awkwardly and said, "I overslept, because I accidentally drank a bit of wine yesterday. Have you all rested well?" Once all 42 students were lined up neatly, Rimmer regained his strict teacher demeanor and spoke. "First of all, congratulations on officially becoming trainees. Starting today, we begin the official training." Rayon listened attentively. "Overall, it will be similar to last time. From now on, there will be some additional training programs." Rimmer began the lesson. "For our first class, we will study the method of cultivating spiritual energy." Then, a loud noise suddenly rang out, drawing everyone's attention to its source. A girl with long black hair stood there, hands on her hips, coldly staring at the group in front of her. After forcing the door open, she cursed in frustration. "Damn it! The door just wouldn't open. Almost got into trouble there." Dorian, recognizing the angry girl, stammered in fear. That person must be..." Then came Rimmer's calm voice. "You finally made it. Everyone, listen up. I'm not her assigned instructor, but she's a trainee who failed the last round." Then he said, "Since you'll all be training together from now on, let's greet each other." The girl spoke first, full of confidence as she introduced herself. "I'm Martha Sieghart, of the direct bloodline of Martha Sieghart." Martha let out a sigh, her expression clearly unfriendly. Rimmer kept smiling and added, "Despite how she looks, she's actually a very kind girl." But his words were quickly cut off by Martha. She stepped forward, stood in the middle of the trainees, and asked, "Who's the top student here?" Rayon didn't react, simply listening to Martha ramble on. "I can't let someone inferior to me be ranked above me. I need to see what kind of bastard holds that spot." Her expression turned defiant. "Come on out. Let's have a duel." Martha moved among the trainees, taunting. "Why don't we just fight right now?" Rayon looked annoyed, whispering to Imperial Essence, "Is the energy in this place cursed or something? Why do I keep running into people like this?" Finally, he calmly stepped forward and firmly declared, "I'm Rayon Regard. I'm the top student." Immediately, Martha gave a mocking smirk. She looked down at him with disdain and commented, "Rayon, you really don't look like a top student at all." "All right then." Martha began cracking her knuckles and challenged him. "No need for words. One fight will settle it." Suddenly, Burden interrupted, criticizing her behavior. "Martha Sieghart, why are you being so rude?" That comment instantly made her freeze for a moment. A surge of anger flared up, and Martha switched into her aggressive mode. "This brat dares to speak so disrespectfully to a senior. Huh?" She then approached, shooting Burden a glare that looked ready to punch. However, he didn't flinch. Instead, furrowing his brows and meeting her eyes, Martha threatened, If you keep saying stupid things like that, you'll die on the spot. You'd better choose your words more carefully next time. Young Master Burden replied sharply. Rayon Sieghart was recognized as the top student in front of the Lord and the instructors. Are you saying you doubt their decision? Hearing that, her expression turned mocking. I thought you made a big fuss about it because of that too, didn't you? She continued. That's why I'm doing this. But Burden remained unfazed and answered seriously. I don't want to see my shameful self from back then again. This exchange left Rayon quite surprised. Burden really had changed. Suddenly, Runan stepped in front of Raon, shielding him, which startled both him and Imperial Essence. Runan spread his arms protectively and firmly said, Stay back. Seeing Rayon being protected by the two of them, Martha scoffed and mockingly said, Ha! How touching. What a beautiful friendship. Is this what they call tattered rags, wrapping even more torn ones? Then she turned around to leave. If I keep this up, I guess I'd be the one in the wrong. Huh. Fine then. I'll be the bad guy. Suddenly, a mysterious smile appeared on Martha's face. But you know, I really... Right after that, she charged at Rayon, attacking while growling. Really hate cowards who hide behind others. They're even more pathetic than arrogant ones. This caught Runan and Burden completely off guard with her sudden assault. She launched a punch imbued with magical power toward Rayon. Take this. But fate favored Rayon. Her surprise punch was easily dodged. Moreover, it was blocked and dispelled by Raon. Martha never imagined Rayon could calmly deflect her attack. Before she could recover, Rayon countered with a punch of his own. Although Martha dodged it directly, the force of the punch pushed them both apart, creating distance. Watching the fight, Burden couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Meanwhile, Teacher Rimmer observed the two with an amused smile. Clearly, the punch had left Martha shocked. She let out a sigh, looking as though she had lost confidence. Her rage and pride were starting to override her reason. Martha let out a trembling laugh. How ridiculous! She began to go wild. Every step she took left a deep mark on the ground. With a threatening voice, she growled, Hey! Raising one arm, she prepared another punch and taunted, Don't think you can just walk away from this. From behind, Rimmer grabbed Martha's arm, his voice calm. That's enough. She turned to glance at the teacher in surprise. When did he get here? From above, Rimmer looked down at the difficult student and took on the role of an instructor. Martha, it seems you've been underestimating me. Even if you think I'm lenient, don't act as if I'm invisible. Despite Martha struggling to break free, Rimmer continued calmly. Burden and Runan may have already learned spiritual energy, but Rayon hasn't. Don't you think winning under that advantage isn't something to be proud of? Finally, he let go and smiled. I'll let you fight Rayon as much as you want after the boy learns spiritual energy. Martha, clearly frustrated, shook off Rimmer's hand and grumbled, I was going to stop anyway. Rimmer, clearly used to Martha's rough attitude, chuckled and pointed in one direction. Return to your position, Rayon. Rayon nodded. Yes, sir. Immediately after, Imperial Essence roared. What are you doing? How dare you let that bratty girl attack me like that? You should have torn her limbs apart and sealed her in ice for 1,000 years. Rayon calmly replied. I already counterattacked, but that only made the monster angrier. That's not enough. You should have severed her head from her body. Yet he firmly said, No, it's not the time yet. Imperial Essence looked in exasperation at Rayon's calculating expression. Fighting when you want something from her would be smarter. Use this top student title to lure her in. Rayon followed Rimmer inside and said to the one sticking close to him, Just wait. Next time, I'll show you a real show. Inside the building, all 42 trainees were training intensely. After a while, Rimmer spoke up, satisfied. All right, everyone take a 10-minute break. Burden quickly rehydrated himself with plenty of water. Once he had replenished his energy, he thought silently, Just as I thought. This isn't easy at all. Since I've already learned the high-class Supreme Fist, 2-star level, it's not that hard for me. But reaching 3 stars is tough, because it requires combining various advanced techniques. Then Burden turned his gaze toward Rayon. But as for Rayon, he was still diligently training. Burden silently assessed. It's only been a month. He continued thinking, Even I needed a month just to learn the 7-form fist. He learned swordsmanship at the same time as me, and just me. watching Rayon's precise movements. Burden couldn't help but be impressed. Seems like I'm not the only one under pressure from his progress. His eyes shifted toward the person training frantically beside him. He asked, "You're being caught up to as well." "Huh?" Martha Sieghart was struck right in the heart. She panted, stopped her movements, and started cursing. Damn it. She stood there breathing heavily for a while, her expression full of unwillingness. She thought, Rayon Sieghart. Even though this is his first time learning martial arts, how can he be improving this fast? Martha tried comparing. He doesn't seem to have had prior training like Burden or Runan, and his body is far from normal. There's still ice inside him. How is he able to train all day with a body like that? The more she thought, the more jealous she became, grinding her teeth. I can't fall behind like this. She recalled the praise she had received and started praising herself. My talent is formidable. That's what everyone says about me. She remembered the past. Since being adopted by House Sieghart, I've always been a hunter. She continued her self-narration. I surpassed all direct and collateral descendants, those good-for-nothing ones who constantly bragged about being geniuses. Martha smirked and scoffed. When they fell into despair, she kept asserting to herself, I'm the real genius. I'm the best. That's who I used to be. However, Martha's current situation had been completely reversed. She was very well aware of this. She clenched her teeth and thought, but now, I'm really afraid I can't keep control anymore. Late at night, the butler close to Martha had been waiting for her for a while. He bowed respectfully and greeted her. You did very well today, Lady Martha. But Martha merely responded with a glum grunt. Seeing his lady so downcast, the butler began thinking of ways to comfort her. Eventually, he spoke up. There's no need to worry, my lady. Martha frowned and snapped. What did you just say? The butler gently replied, just as I said, because he has shown his good side. People have forgotten, but young Master Rayon doesn't stand a chance of defeating you. My lady, hearing that, Martha frowned even deeper and retorted, he'll never defeat me. Her voice was full of doubt. What makes you say that? The butler smiled mysteriously and said, because young Master Rayon has a fatal weakness that he can never overcome. Rayon was still training diligently. His hands gripped the sword powerfully and precisely. His hair was drenched with sweat. Despite the fatigue, his swordsmanship continued to improve. One trainee approached another and asked, I want to ask you something. But the other trainee quickly responded, watch and learn from Rayon. Just look at the posture. However, that trainee seemed shy and immediately refused. No, I can't ask him. Upon hearing that, the other trainee responded in surprise. But his swordsmanship is amazing. Clap. A sharp clap rang out from Martha. She wore a strange smile and praised. Excellent. In an overly fake tone, Martha commented. I didn't expect that Rayon would be able to train alongside me in such a short time. You're even better than a genius. You're learning too fast. Suddenly, that fake smile turned back into her usual one. But really, what followed were nothing but poisonous words meant to provoke Rayon. With your weak mana sensing abilities, no matter how much you train, it'll be useless. What a pity. Martha's voice was loud enough for everyone in the training room to hear. Perhaps at least you could become a swordsmanship instructor. Everyone fell silent at this conversation. Even Rimmer, seeing the awkward atmosphere. Martha arrogantly thought to herself, no one is saying anything, just as I thought. She kept criticizing and belittling Raona. No one thought that this fool still hadn't mastered aura after 4 whole months. It all stemmed from a conversation between Martha and her butler. The butler had said that young Master Rayon had no talent for aura at all. Upon hearing this, Martha was stunned and gaped in shock. When she saw her surprise, the butler quickly explained, you probably don't know, but this happened after you were adopted. During Rayon's mana sensitivity evaluation ceremony, his level was the lowest. His tone was even. The only one who hasn't learned aura in the 5th training hall is young Master Rayon. The bronze medal will only help him acquire a mid-level training method. Or maybe a little better. Just a bit better than everyone else's basic Linden training. He continued, but he still hasn't mastered any method. So the result of the evaluation is probably correct. He might be the best at swordsmanship and fighting, but without aura, he can't become a true martial artist. Upon hearing this, Martha's expression changed from shock to excitement. Finally, she burst out laughing. Remembering the past, Martha proudly patted her own hair. She was still upset about losing to that guy. She smirked. But that guy wasn't even worth her time. Her train of thought was interrupted by Runan's murderous glare. Seeing Runan staring at her as if about to say something, Martha coldly asked, "Do you want to say something to me?" Runan nonchalantly ordered, "Go and do your work." Martha showed some interest. "Ha! Is that all?" Runan frowned and repeated, "Go!" Martha's face now showed a provocative expression as she hummed, "All right, I'm going." Just before leaving, she arrogantly boasted, "I still have to attend the direct line class." Runan watched her leave with a cold expression. That evening, inside the training room, Rayon sat resting on a chair, 2 empty water bottles at his feet. He sighed in exhaustion and wiped the sweat off with a towel. That should be enough for today. Then he smiled contentedly. This is fun. A fragment of a past life memory appeared. On the battlefield, he hadn't learned martial arts, but how to survive and kill. Only his assassination skills had been improved. He hadn't even learned anything else. He couldn't help but feel amazed. I never expected it to be this enjoyable learning martial arts to improve myself. Suddenly, Imperial Essence angrily shouted, "Have you come to your senses yet? I can't believe you just stood there like that when you were humiliated." Rayon asked, puzzled. Humiliated. Imperial Essence was stunned and snarled. "That little black-haired girl keeps bad-mouthing you." But Rayon coldly replied, "Oh, really? I didn't hear. I was too focused." The monster with smoke coming out of its nose yelled, "You need to pay more attention. If she talked about me like that, I'd freeze her into ice right away." Getting scolded like that, Rayon calmly replied, "I've already said, fighting her now won't benefit me at all." He stood up, opened the door, and muttered, "Even without 10,000 Flames cultivation technique, I could easily defeat her." Before he finished his sentence, he saw Runan already waiting for him behind the door. He quickly called her name. "Runan," he continued, "why are you standing there?" Runan didn't respond, but opened the box she was holding and took out a round brown cake. She handed it to him, saying, "Eat this." Rayon took it and felt its temperature. The cake was cold to the touch. "What is this?" Seeing him hesitate, Runan ordered, "Eat it." Rayon nodded confusedly. "All right." As he was about to eat the cake, he briefly thought, "I'm an assassin. I shouldn't eat something given to me by someone else." But the cake went into his mouth. Surely, she wouldn't poison me. The taste of the cake spread through his mouth. Rayon was quite surprised by the flavor. Meanwhile, Imperial Essence had an expression of extreme delight and excitedly said, "What is this?" "In the demon realm. I've never tasted anything this sweet. And it's cold too." "What is it?" Runan asked. "How is it?" Rayon nodded and replied, "Delicious. It's so good." Imperial Essence was flying around, clearly enjoying this new treat. "Give me more." "I want more," Runan replied. "It's an ice cream ball." After that, she left. Rayon hurriedly called out loudly, "Huh! Hey, wait." Imperial Essence was even more urgent. Give me one more. Then you can go." Seeing Runan had already left, he muttered dejectedly, "She's really strange. Why didn't she give me one more?" Meanwhile, Rayon thought of something else. Is she worried about me? He recalled earlier when Runan liked sweets like a little child. It seemed there were only 4 of these cakes. He speculated that she had saved one for him. She must have struggled with this decision. Thinking this, Rayon smiled and sighed. "But what's wrong with that?" As he was about to leave, he said, "Guess I should repay her." Then, Imperial Essence still hadn't forgotten the sweet taste from earlier. He happily said, "Then just ask her for one more." At the annex building, Rayon spoke. "I'm back." Immediately, a series of servants warmly came to greet him. "Rayon, it's been so long. You're finally back." Rayon gently replied, "It's only been a week." The servant asked, "Are you hungry? Should I prepare something for you?" Rayon immediately declined. "No, I'm fine." But before he finished speaking, the servant hastily ordered the others, "Hurry up." A moment later, Judiel handed Rayon her report and nervously said, "This is the report I will send to the Intermediate Martial Arts Hall." Rayon asked, "What did they say?" Judiel stammered, "Nothing much." "Really?" She continued, "They ordered me to investigate further, because your swordsmanship and combat skills are advancing too quickly. But it seems they lost interest since you can't use aura." Rayon then asked another question. What about my mother? Judiel dared not look him in the eye. Rayon answered, I think they're also losing interest in Madame Sylvia. She guessed. At this rate, they'll pull me back soon. Hearing this, Rayon frowned. This won't do. I still need her. Judiel suddenly hesitated and said, Young master. Rayon gave her a glance, signaling her to speak. Judiel then asked, Are you intentionally not learning aura? Rayon suddenly smiled wickedly. Who knows? He softly asked. What do you think? Rayon's killing intent immediately scared her, and she trembled. It's nothing. I'm sorry for asking such an inappropriate question. Rayon smiled and then ordered, All right, you can leave now. Judiel quietly responded, Yes. Imperial Essence frowned and said, They think you're purposely not learning. Rayon replied indifferently, He's smart to exploit the situation and environment for his own benefit. Imperial Essence asked in confusion, Why is it so difficult for you to train aura? I've never had this problem. Rayon laughed and responded, I don't know. Let's just practice. Do it. He was stunned and exclaimed, Again. He kept reminding himself, This guy. Just go to sleep. Rayon didn't care and replied, We have to practice too. The scene that appeared after he opened the door surprised Rayon a little. It turned out Rimmer had been waiting for him outside all along. Rayon softly called, Coach Rimmer. Hearing that, he happily turned to look at him. Oh, you couldn't sleep? Rayon asked indifferently. Why are you here? Rimmer stepped forward and nodded. I came to teach you. Then he placed a hand on Rayon's shoulder and said, I'll show you your attribute. Rayon wondered. We're going to the forest. I thought you were going to teach me about attributes or something. Why are we walking around like this? Rimmer smiled and shook his head. Don't complain. Just wait. I'm a little lazy, but I'm still an excellent teacher. Rayon curiously looked around. How are you going to teach me about mana attributes in a place like this? Rimmer only smiled and looked at him. He recalled his impression of Rayon. I still can't forget the first time I saw your training techniques. Rimmer described it as being like a flame as hot as magma. He remarked that it was completely different from ordinary techniques. Rimmer thought, You tried to adapt to the coldness of your body with the flame, instead of removing them from your mana flow. He imagined with excitement, if Raon really masters this technique. After reflecting, Rimmer sighed softly. Then he said, This should be enough. Rayon stopped and observed the place where he was standing. He asked in confusion, In the forest. Why here? Rimmer suddenly waved his hand. A gust of wind appeared and blew at Rayon. Rimmer explained, I want to create a wind blade to protect my master. What you're seeing now. Then he began to create a stronger gust of wind. One could even see the elemental colors in the wind. He continued, Earlier was the wind that the teacher chose. Rayon opened his eyes wide, feeling the sensation on his hands. Rimmer whispered, Teacher, you really did make it weaker, so I could get used to it. But I don't seem to be afraid at all. I'm not a child. Then he shivered, saying that since birth, the teacher has felt this wind because he is an elf. But I am a human. Also, my mana channel is full of cold air, so it will be harder for me. Rimmer continued, There are many types of wind. Warm, cold, or sharp. Then he raised his hand to the sky and said, Teacher wants a wind blade that can pierce through everything. Finally, he proudly said, And I have it. Afterward, he told Raon, You must find your own. Think of the fire, what you want to obtain. Suddenly Raon spoke up. This is the north. Unless you set fire to this forest, you can't see a proper flame here. Rimmer smiled and teased after hearing this. If that's the case, we'll be beheaded instantly. He looked at Rayon with a playful gaze. Then he said, But there's a place very suitable for you. A while later, the two of them arrived at a forge. Rimmer spoke, greeting the person inside. Hey, old man, I'm here. The old man replied in a deep voice. I didn't even know why the flame is acting up. So it's you. Rimmer folded his arms and smiled awkwardly. Looks like it's another failure tonight. Rayon curiously asked, Where are we? Rimmer gently explained. This is the place with the hottest and brightest flame in the north. He added, A charcoal forge. The old man inside the forge asked, Rimmer, what did you bring this time? Rimmer shook his head and said, Hey, he's the grandson of the head of the house. But the old man didn't seem to care and replied, I'm just a retired old man. Well, unless the head of the house comes here personally. Suddenly Raon was surprised. What? He looked at the flames raging before him and sighed. Is this really a flame? He remembered in his past life. He had seen countless flames, bonfires, and high-level fire magic created by wizards, and so on. He looked at the current flames. Like these flames, Raon felt the temperature, the image of the flames. He started focusing on the image of the flame he wanted to obtain. Just as his hand was about to catch it, the flame disappeared. Raon quietly felt disappointed. Ah! He's made the flame smaller again. The deep voice of the old man rang out. My name is Valken. The old man Valken reminded. If you want to be polite, you can go elsewhere. Raon was extremely surprised when he heard this name, Valken. He looked at the old man and remembered someone, a craftsman famous worldwide for his skills. Is it really Valken? Raon thought to himself. You created the true sword of Glenn Sieghart. But he disappeared 30 years ago. I didn't expect him to be here. Immediately, Raon greeted politely. Nice to meet you. I'm Raon Sieghart, Valken gently asked. Did you hear about me? Rimmer immediately shook his head. Not at all. Then Rimmer turned to explain to Raon. That old man is the craftsman of Sieghart. He's retired now. Yes, he's a retired craftsman, but he's been tending the fire here for 10 years. Rimmer continued. He has been watching this flame all year, so that the kids wouldn't find a proper flame elsewhere. Then Rimmer asked, Can you help me with something? Valken pondered for a while before replying, Why don't you go to those blacksmiths? The teacher, Rimmer replied. There are too many eyes there. I don't want anyone to see this technique before he masters it. Upon hearing this, Valken curiously asked, What do you mean by that? Rimmer answered, Because Raon is the son of Sylvia. This time, Valken turned to look at Raon. Raon immediately seized the opportunity and sincerely said, I won't bother you. Please let me feel this flame. Valken stared at him for a while. Then he replied, I'm making charcoal. While Raon didn't understand, Valken continued, Golden charcoal creates a much stronger fire than white or black charcoal. I've been doing this for 10 years. Then he said, If you're not bothering me, you can do whatever you want. Valken allowed. Raon beamed with joy. He happily said, Thank you, sir. Then, Rimmer and Valken went outside the forge, leaving Raon inside alone. Rimmer stood beside and complimented. You're really kind. I didn't expect you to accept so easily. Then, Rimmer kindly placed his hand on the old man's shoulder and said, If you treat him well, I'll bring you some good wine. But then Valken's answer surprised Rimmer immensely. Not because of you. Valken explained his actions. The fire in the furnace flared up when that child stepped in, strong enough to break the charcoal below. He assessed that the child has the ability to control fire. Then he muttered, If it's him, Valken smiled. Then I think he can make my dream come true. Raon had been coming to the forge for 7 months, thinking about the image of the fire he wanted to obtain. Raon sat still, constantly murmuring, Fire. I understand now. An image of a fireball flashed. Raon slowly walked forward, touching it, his mind constantly thinking, People say that fire is the most terrifying and powerful element. But if you can control it, it's another matter. A tamed flame is stronger than any other element, and the perfect cultivation technique has awakened. He suddenly remembered Rimmer's words. Imagine the image of the fire you want to obtain. So Raon murmured again. The image of the fire I need. He remembered the enemy he wished to slit their throat. Russell helped Sylvia get the main bloodline title. The road to his goal was only darkness, nothing visible. The torch illuminated the path. The fire defeated the monsters. A persistent flame ahead emitted a beautiful light. Raon gradually immersed himself in it. That is the flame I want to obtain. Raon patiently practiced. He felt a fire energy stronger than usual flowing through his body. He felt the temperature of the furnace space seeping into his skin. It forced him to concentrate and catch it. He had to feel a little more. In his subconscious, Raon's entire body seemed surrounded by the flames. This surprised him. This is a completely undefined state. How could I see my own subconscious right before my eyes? He pursed his lips and thought, if I concentrate a little more. Suddenly, a stream of elemental magic appeared in his left hand. Raon smiled mischievously. It's my turn now. Didn't I tell you? I'll wait until you're at your weakest. Freeze. As soon as the evil spirit finished speaking, An extremely strong stream of magic enveloped Rayon and quickly froze his left hand. This caused Rayon to panic. I was too careless. Why now of all times? He remembered that over the past 7 months, he had forgotten that recently the enemy had been very quiet. But he wasn't my ally. His smiling face made me forget that he was a demon trying to take my life. That's the Demon King. Surrounded by the immense magic of the Demon King, Rayon struggled and squirmed. Damn it. It feels like my body is breaking into pieces. It's so hard to breathe. But if I move now, I'll die. But if I use the 10,000 flames cultivation technique, I'll die too. He desperately thought of a way. I need to focus my aura. Rayon gasped heavily. To survive, I have to think. I need to think. The ice had started to freeze his lower body. Rayon shook his head painfully. But my head is so foggy. The evil demon, enjoying Rayon's suffering, watched. He grinned slyly and chuckled, asking, "Your struggle is truly beautiful. Did you think you could withstand my power like before?" Then he concluded, "It's useless." Rayon's gaze was gradually drifting into a stupor. The evil demon's sly voice echoed throughout the space. "Your body and soul are now mine," he declared loudly. "All your efforts for survival are futile. You're no different than the one working in the furnace. But don't worry, I'll make sure to take revenge for you soon." Just as Rayon was about to lose his sanity, the evil demon suggested a way to counterattack. The furnace. The furnace. Huh. Thanks for the suggestion. Finally, Rayon used all his remaining strength to begin gathering power. He clenched his teeth. Determined. All or nothing. If I don't do this, I'll die. The flame in the furnace suddenly flared up fiercely. Instead of absorbing the naturally occurring mana, the furnace heated it up, and I will directly absorb the mana from the furnace. It was a much stronger and hotter flame, capable of swallowing everything. Rayon shouted, "Absorb it!" Rayon's body began to absorb mana from the furnace, mumbling, "I will try." This made the Demon King gasp in shock and yell, "What? What are you doing?" The charcoal in the furnace began to glow brighter. Valken was still patiently observing the furnace at this moment. The encounter with the spirit and the eruption of the flames startled him, causing him to jump to his feet. His panic had not yet subsided. What's going on? Why is the flame suddenly rising so high? I've never seen such a strong flame before. He looked around and noticed something. What's wrong with this furnace? Valken looked over at the young man still meditating across the room. Feeling puzzled, Rayon shook off Rayon, who was trembling uncontrollably, even though he was sitting close to the furnace, making Valken feel very strange. How can the furnace be burning like this and still be cold? Then he sat up and walked over to Rayon, calling out in concern, "Hey, are you okay?" Valken pointed a finger at Rayon, asking in confusion, "Why are you shaking like a leaf? Say something." Just as Valken was about to touch Rayon, Rimmer appeared out of nowhere and sternly stopped him. Valken asked in surprise, "Rimmer," and Rimmer simply reminded him, "Don't touch him. Keep your hands off." The wrinkles on Valken's face deepened. "What are you talking about? He might die." Rimmer calmly extended his arms, explaining, "Right now, he is in a completely unstable state. We can't do anything. If we touch him, he'll vomit blood and die." Hearing this, Valken reluctantly backed off. He quietly asked, "Is that the cold you were talking about? Can't we do anything about it?" Rimmer received a worried nod from Rimmer. "It's not too dangerous." Rimmer looked at Rayon and silently prayed, "Rayon, please don't die." Inside his consciousness, a fierce battle was still taking place. He saw the flames breaking through his ice layer and gradually engulfing the entire space. The Demon King screamed furiously, "Stop! You can't do anything." Of course, a person with as much will and desire as Rayon would never listen to the demon, who was always waiting to take his life. He gritted his teeth, determined. "Nonsense. I've already died miserably once." Rayon's gaze became sharper than ever. "My past life was meaningless. In the end, I still died without closing my eyes. I will never face that again." Little by little, Rayon got closer to the desired flame. He stretched out his hand with all his might, trying to touch it. Outside, the temperature in the furnace was rising rapidly. Valken anxiously shouted, "The temperature is too high. At this rate, the furnace won't be able to withstand this sudden surge in temperature." Rimmer focused on sensing the mana in the furnace, gathering in one spot. Rayon. You... He was surprised by his own realization. Rayon. Are you absorbing mana? Rayon in his subconscious screamed out fiercely. The firepower inside him erupted. No matter how hard the Demon King tried, he couldn't resist anymore. Rayon had successfully seized the flame. The Demon King finally lost. Immediately, a massive explosion rocked the world. The fireball exploded throughout the space, creating a mushroom-shaped explosion inside the furnace, tall enough to reach the height of a castle. Rimmer was startled and anxiously shouted, Rayon, are you okay? Valken also called out worriedly, Rayon. As the smoke and fire cleared, everyone saw a figure emerging from the explosion. Rayon was slowly standing up. Around him, sparkling elemental particles appeared. Even more shocking, Rimmer noticed that Rayon's body now bore fire metal. Next to Rayon, a system notification appeared. You have learned the 10,000 fire cultivation technique. Rayon observed the snowflake in his hand. The system's notification continued to echo around. The 10,000 fire cultivation technique has reached 2 stars. Thanks to the high temperature, fire resistance has been created. After leveling up, the ice element has melted, and the weak durability attribute has disappeared. The cold aura has gathered into frozen aura. Finally, the system concluded. Frozen aura has reached 2 stars, thanks to the surge of freezing cold. After hearing this, Rayon happily patted his chest. Things are progressing better than I thought. I can develop immediately. While he was silently marveling, not expecting to gain so much so quickly, another notification appeared. Rayon read the new information carefully. After reading, he couldn't help but be astonished. Is this a dream? It's telling me everything. Just a short while, and I've gotten everything that would normally take years to achieve. The evil demon still couldn't believe that he had lost in the battle just now. He gritted his teeth and cursed. Damn it! He angrily flew around, moving while venting his frustration. What are you? Your spirit is always so weak. How could you possibly endure this? Rayon replied, adding fuel to the fire. I never said that wasn't allowed. Don't misunderstand. Then, he sighed, thinking to himself that, although he had said that, he really had almost died this time. I need to be more careful. After this incident, it's definite. Seeing the Demon King's defiant expression, Rayon was even more certain that, even if they were closer now, he was still an enemy. I can't let him see my weaknesses or secrets. Suddenly, Valken's hoarse voice interrupted his thoughts. Are you okay? Rayon calmly replied. Oh, I'm fine, Valken asked. Did you get aura already? Rayon smiled and answered. Yes. Thanks to you. Then, he apologized. I'm sorry. The furnace broke because of me. However, Valken just sighed. It's okay, as long as you're fine. He continued. I'll build another furnace. At that moment, a strange light emanated from the remaining furnace. Catching his attention, Rayon curiously asked, What's that? Valken hurriedly ran over to the spot, muttering to himself. Wait, I hope that's... Not finishing his sentence, he grabbed a shovel and began pulling something from inside the furnace. On the shovel were 3 lumps of yellow charcoal, all glowing with a soft light. Valken couldn't believe his eyes. He stammered. Golden charcoal. Memories from the past rushed back, and the gossip from those around him resurfaced. He must have gone back to the furnace again. Did he say he wanted to create golden charcoal? It's been years, and golden charcoal was only in legends. I thought he had retired. He must be bored. Valken gazed at the lumps of charcoal, muttering, Looks like you're not the only lucky one. He handed them to Rayon to observe. This is golden charcoal. Valken began explaining. It burns hotter than white charcoal and lasts longer than black charcoal. Thanks to you, I've managed to create something I've been trying to make for decades. Thank you. Valken suddenly expressed his gratitude, causing Rayon to quickly refuse. I didn't do anything. Hearing this, Valken paused for a moment, then continued. Every time you practice here, the flames burn hotter, and your breathing makes the fire flare up even more, spreading the heat everywhere. Then, Valken smiled and said, I'm just a simple blacksmith, only good with a hammer, but I know what you've done. It's all thanks to you. Finally, he asked, So, I want to ask you one question. Rayon, what's your goal? Rayon mumbled. My goal. Valken nodded. Yes. What kind of swordsman do you want to become? Rayon thought for a moment. then firmly placed a hand on his chest and said loudly, "I want to become a warrior who never gives up, no matter who the opponent is." Valken nodded in approval. I never expected a child to say something like that. A swordsman who never gives up. He continued, "In 3 to 5 years, you'll have a sword. And when you think you're ready, when you're steady enough, come find me. I'll keep them for that day." Valken pointed to the bright yellow lumps of charcoal and said, "So?" Rayon asked in surprise. "You mean you'll teach me to sword fight? I heard you've retired." Valken answered gently. People often return after retirement. Before Rayon left, Valken reminded him, "Try to live until then." Rayon. Rimmer watched the farewell from above. He smiled and said, still wondering, "If anything happens, it's that boy. Finally. He has aura. That's great." People were really worried. Rimmer suddenly turned to ask the person behind him, "Did I get it right?" The person observing with Rimmer was the family head, Glenn Sieghart. Rimmer grinned. "You've been coming here every day worrying about him. Now you must feel relieved." In response, Glenn denied, "I didn't come here out of worry." Rimmer chuckled while praising Rayon. "It's probably because of the furnace's temperature, which made the quantity and purity of aura extremely high. The boy has stabilized his aura now. Truly talented." Suddenly, Glenn said sternly, "This isn't good." This made Rimmer curious, and he turned to look at the family head, who calmly explained his statement. He has turned his flaw into an advantage. In the 5th training hall, Runan was still holding a box of cold cake, his eyes eagerly watching the door. Deep in thought, Rayon wondered when he would return. She recalled the not-so-good things other students had said about Raon. Things like, "Have you heard about Raon? He hasn't even created aura yet. He won 7 times. But maybe he's not as good as the rumors say. Young Master Burden or Miss Martha should take his position. He's probably not that skilled." The hand holding Runan's cake box tightened. "I want to help him. Mom said I must repay those who helped me." While she was focused on thinking, the door suddenly opened. Runan looked at the figure of Rayon, appearing with a happy heart. Each step Raon took was steady. Rayon was still arguing with the evil demon. "I told you not to respond to him." That was a warning from him. "Don't be so arrogant." One day, Rayon decided to ignore him and walk away. He nodded. Yeah, good luck." But then, he suddenly stopped and looked at Runan, who seemed to be waiting for him. Rayon quietly asked her, Runan heard him call her name. She slowly lifted her eyes to look at him, then opened the cake box. Inside were 4 colorful cakes that looked very eye-catching. Runan held them out in front of Rayon and said, "Good luck." Suddenly, she paused as she sensed a strange power. Rayon saw her kindness and didn't refuse. He picked up a green cake and thanked her. "Ah, it's the ice cream from last time." "Thank you." Meanwhile, Runan could feel the power even more clearly. She blinked and thought to herself, "This cold energy." Sensing the strength emanating from Rayon's body, she commented, "Much stronger and more comfortable now." Rayon politely said to Runan, "Thank you." He took a bite, and the sweet, refreshing taste immediately took over his mouth. Even the greedy Demon King enjoyed it. The little mouth kept praising, "So delicious." He was so delighted that he forgot about the argument earlier. He flew around erratically. "It's been so long since I've had this, but it's still as good as ever." "Eat the other 2 as well." Rayon had to speak up to remind him. "You should know this is her food. Don't be greedy. Adjust yourself." Then, he closed the cake box for her and didn't forget to thank her again. "It's delicious." "Thank you." Runan asked in confusion, "Aren't you going to eat any more?" Rayon answered gently, "1 is enough for me." "Thank you." Runan asked again, "Do you feel better?" Rayon was a bit confused. Then he subconsciously sighed. "Yeah, I feel better." Upon hearing this, Runan smiled with satisfaction. "Good." Finally, she left with a happy mood, holding the cake box. Rayon saw her cheerful mood and smiled too. He murmured, "She's quite a strange girl." A while later, during the training session, Rimmer stepped up to the podium. He loudly announced, "Students, practicing like this all day is boring. So this week, I've prepared something more special." He reminded the students, "You've been practicing the basics and cultivating for 7 months now. It's time for you to activate your energy." This announcement made the students curious. One student quietly asked the person next to them, Why is he doing this all of a sudden? This person didn't know either, and just shook their head. I'm wondering the same thing. A series of conversations erupted. What is he planning to do? In response, Rimmer gave a mysterious smile. Then, he revealed the content. You will be fighting each other for a month. Clearly, this made Martha extremely excited. He continued, the results of these battles will affect your graduation ranking. Rimmer continued to advise the students. I advise you all to prepare carefully for the coming month. While he was speaking, suddenly a hand was raised, followed by the gruff voice of Martha. Wait, she said with hidden meaning. What about those who are falling behind? Who still haven't created aura? Her words immediately caused the atmosphere to drop. All eyes seemed to turn toward Rayon. However, Rimmer's reply broke the negative mood. Luckily, I heard those students have created aura now. Upon hearing this, Martha exclaimed in shock. Huh? When? He smiled and answered. Maybe yesterday or today. I'm not sure. Martha glanced at Rayon and smiled with a provocative grin. I finally have a chance. I thought I'd be bored to death. It's been so long. Then, she stepped closer to Rayon, her tone becoming increasingly outrageous. Do you remember what I said? I don't listen to orders from someone weaker than me. Martha kept taking jabs at Rayon. I've tolerated you long enough. I'm sure you're struggling too. This position is beyond your capabilities. Then, she confidently declared, I'll seize this opportunity and deal with you, once and for all. Suddenly, a hand blocked Martha's actions. Burden spoke up once more. Martha stepped back. He continued, he hasn't even had aura for a full day yet. Do you have any honor as a swordsman? Hearing this, Martha didn't care. She shook her head and patted Burden on the shoulder. Our young master Burden, you grew up with such nobility, so honor must be very important to you. Honor is for those who deserve it. Burden warned Martha in a harsh tone. But she interrupted him. Those fools learned aura in just 1 month. But our top students took 6 months. Seeing that Burden and the other students said nothing, as if allowing her to push further, she continued. Her words became even more cutting. Even advanced techniques usually take about 7 months to master. That means this idiot is really useless. The two of us participated in the evaluation together, so you should know this, Martha mocked. A swordsman who hasn't learned aura can never be famous, no matter how skilled they are in swordsmanship. But without aura, they're useless. Then, she turned to ask Rimmer, do you think this duel was arranged to change who's at the top? Right. Of course. Rimmer just shrugged and replied, who knows? I don't. Martha didn't care anymore. She called out Rayon's name directly. Rayon, she warned. You've been at the top for too long. It's time for you to step back. Seeing that Rayon still didn't say anything, Martha placed her hands on her hips and challenged him. So, as I said, let's fight and decide who will be at the top in the end. Rayon finally spoke up. He answered very decisively. No, he said calmly. Without money, how can one gamble? If you want to take my top position, you'll need to offer something of equal value. Martha laughed mockingly. You still don't understand your position. Are you stupid? No one here is on your side. However, one sentence from Rayon left her speechless. Are you scared? Rayon was completely calm, even smiling when he said that. Martha was shocked and asked back, what the hell did you just say? A competitive person like her couldn't stand being insulted like that. She laughed viciously, spitting out words like ridiculous. Truly ridiculous. Then, she returned to her usual mocking state, hands on her hips, sighing. Haha, fine. I'll let you off the hook. You want me to offer something too? With that, she produced an item. This is the Calamity Pill, a divine medicine. My father gave it to me. It will strengthen the body and aura. She waved the item in front of Rayon and said, if you win, I'll give this to you. What do you think? Not bad, right? Rayon smiled mysteriously. He whispered, do you remember when I said we should wait until we can handle Martha? I want to take something from her. However, the Demon King didn't hear clearly and asked, what did you say? Rayon just smiled. He said, this is our chance. 1 month later, in Martha's room, Martha stared at the calendar marked with the fight date and murmured, it's been a month. She confidently stretched her wrist, her face full of determination. Finally, I have my chance for revenge. Remembering her first battle with Raon, she couldn't help but feel anger. Before coming here, No one my age had ever beaten me. That was the first time someone had defeated me. Frowning, Martha was filled with resolve. This is my chance to get back the humiliation he caused me 8 months ago. After preparing, Martha confidently walked forward. That bastard Rayon only learned aura a month ago. He can't possibly beat someone who's trained for 3 years like me. Thinking about this, she clenched her fists. But waiting for such a useless person is just a waste of time. A painful memory rushed back. Martha bit her lip. I must become stronger quickly, because I need to save someone. She boldly declared, "This is your end."